Knuckleheads, listen to this set. Listen, my voice is so high. Listen to this. Listen to this delicious sound. You ever watch those trailers in front of the movies when they have like they're advertising the concession stand and they have the popcorn? It's all popping and great and shit. And then they have the ice and then the Coke pours into it and then you hear the ice actually crack and shit. Oh, it's just fucking food porn, but it's delicious, delightful. I'm gonna go back to the movie theater soon. I don't know what I'm gonna go back and see. What's opening soon? There's a bunch of stuff out there. Anyway, point is, welcome to Gavin Games for the 12th of one of the best months of the year, which is of course June 12th. It's good to see everybody. There you guys are. Well, maybe not. Hang on. There you guys, like, you all knuckleheads. Good to see everybody. Thank you for tuning into the show live. If you're listening after the fact, what the fuck's the matter with you? You got the rocks in your head? I appreciate you being there as well. I want to give you a couple of quick updates before we jump into the show. Go to the chat. There's a lot of news today about the reactions on the part of the press that was actually in Los Angeles playing a bunch of the games for Summer Showcase. And so we will be talking mostly about that on the show today, as well as some Elden Ring stuff and some Capcom stuff. So there's a lot of good news coming down the road. I don't know why the camera just went out of focus. Doesn't matter. But before we get into that, before I go to the chat, I want to let you know, yeah, I was late today. I apologize for that. But again, termites, they didn't get them all last time. Those little fuckers, they didn't get them all. So they were back out today drilling holes and injecting foam into the walls that then expands and basically is poison to these guys. Terrible that we're just committing genocide on these fucking animals. I feel terrible, but you know, it's them or me, but I hate that. Point is, that's why I'm late. Let me also give you guys an update for the next month at least. Maybe this will be our long term. Here's what I feel confident in now. We've been hitting pretty much live around 5 to 5:15 on the Gavin and the Games, and that seems to be workable and doable. So what I'm going to be doing for the next month is Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are Gabbin' and Games live, just like this show you're listening to right now. Lots of call-ins, game news, game discussion, all that stuff. Saturdays, 5 o'clock, 5:15, is I Love the Weird. So instead of going Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. That allows me a couple days during the week to edit videos, to promote the channel, to promote the show, as well as get out members-only content. For tomorrow, for example, I'll be putting on a new podcast. It's not a live one. It's just me talking games and more kind of evergreen game topics. I'll be talking about some PlayStation games and some arcade games no one talks about anymore. It makes me sad. Talking about another worst day of my life working in video games relating to Twistamental 2012. That'll be going up for members only probably tomorrow around 5:15, give or take. So that's the new schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Gabbin' and Games, 5 o'clock, and then I Love the Weird for Saturday at 5 o'clock. So consider membership, consider following, consider liking, sharing, blah, 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 blah. Hee hee. You knock me off of my feet. You know what's weird? You ever watch that? I know you've seen it. The video for The Way You Make Me Feel by Michael Jackson. He's harassing that poor girl. That video wouldn't fly today. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. I'm not talking about woke or anti-woke. I'm so fucking tired of talking about that. Please don't call in today if all you want to talk about is that, because I'm over it. But that said, what a privilege, Jaffe, that you can afford to be over it. I understand. But that said, though, that video, he's chasing this girl around the city block, and he's singing great. But all the men like aren't letting her leave, and she goes down an alley and she can't leave. It's like, what the fuck's going on? Also, let's be clear. She could probably body slam Michael Jackson into a fire hydrant without breaking a sweat. So maybe she was never in any fucking danger to begin with. It is, after all, Michael Jackson. Let's go to the chat, see what you guys are up to. Tim Dog. Is this Tim Dog that I talked to the other day on your show, buddy? Good to see you if it is, or even if it isn't, it doesn't matter. Thank you very much for the super chat. Tim Dog dropped super chat. He says, what's the most disturbing movie you've ever seen? I love your face. Both of those things together bother me that you've put them both on the same chat. But that said, though, the most disturbing motion picture show I have ever seen, the one that stuck with me the most, and it wasn't disturbing in the way that you would see, like, oh, it's a horrible murder on a show or anything, was a movie from Charlie Kaufman, his first directorial attempt, which was called Synecdoche, New York. And yes, hello, dog. You can get up there. It's okay. And there's nothing about that movie. Yes, David, I'm taking calls today. There's nothing about that movie that's disturbing. Like, it's not gory, it's not bloody, blah, blah, blah. It's just so goddamned depressing. And it's so, any of the veneer, which when I was in junior high school, I learned that word, I believe, means to come in French. And I was taking French, 7th grade. My buddy knew what cum was, and I knew what it was, but I didn't know it was called cum. It hadn't entered my 12-year-old brain that was the name. And so he just started laughing like a motherfucker when her name was what the fuck was her? I don't even remember her name. The Madam somebody says, "Oh, veneer means to come, but it means like to come to the store with your mother or whatever." And I'm like, "Why are you laughing?" And he goes, "Do you get it? It means to come." And I'm like, what? Welcome to Gabbin' and Games. But anyway, Tim, I would say that would be the most unsettling movie I've seen. The most disturbing video I've seen was it was a porn video. And I'm again, I don't kink shame, although I would suggest that if you are into necrophilia, that's probably, maybe that's just not like a fun, healthy kink. Maybe something's wrong with you. Not wrong, like you're broken, but maybe get a little help. I don't fucking know. The point is I was looking at the Pornhub. This was years ago. And trust me when I say I wasn't searching for fucking a dead body. But I come upon this clip. And this is why this show will never be mainstream or ever have any sponsors. I can't help you. The point is, this guy's fucking this woman. And I'm like, okay. And But when he starts fucking her, she's doing this. I'll be the woman. Imagine me as the woman. I know you do all the time. He's fucking her. Her eyes are closed, and she's going, like this. And I realize he's fucking a corpse, or at least a thing that's supposed to be a corpse. I don't know what this movie was. It was a clip. And that has never left my brain. It was so disturbing just watching her. It disturbed the fuck out of me. I understand sponsors aren't going to show up when I talk like that, but end of the day, I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care as much about giving the audience what they want. Tim Dog asked me a question, and I'm going to answer the goddamn question accurately. That's how we do it here at the Gabbin' and the Games. But anyway, okay. Yeah, some people are saying Human Centipede. I don't think Human Centipede as a film was the most disturbing. I think Human Centipede only becomes really disturbing when you really stop and think about what's happening. Then you just go, wow, that is just gross as fuck. But anyway, what are you guys up to, chat? What are you guys up to today? Why would this video get taken down, Michael Muhammad? I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that nobody's going to come and give me money to advertise their products. Name says, any thoughts on Sean Layden going full fanboy? Thank you for the super chat, buddy. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. What did he do? What is he a fanboy of? I hope, please don't pay. I'll be looking for your thing. You don't have to pay for a follow-up, but I don't know exactly what does anybody in the chat know what Name is talking about, where he did he went full fanboy? I mean, you mean like on PlayStation? He's always been supportive of PlayStation. Jaffe says, that hacker, are you sure that was Pornhub and not LiveLeak? My guess would be it was Pornhub, because I don't know what LiveLeak link is. Miles says, Jaffe, there was a porn I saw in college a few decades back that was a dude fucking a zombie. Interesting. You fast forwarded it and it ate his dick off at the end. Can you believe such nonsense? We're going out to Vegas in a couple of weeks and we're looking for a show to see. And we were looking at one last night, which was called Zombie Burlesque. And it's like sex and horror. And I'm like, that sounds pretty good. But I don't, usually the stuff that's supposed to be sexy in Vegas is never really sexy. It's like sexy if you're like from Iowa and it's like, oh, my stars and garters, I think I saw a nipple. It's like, if I'm going to pay money to see a sexy show, I want to see a sexy fucking show. He liked fanboy stuff. He didn't like Phil's dig. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. I don't know. I don't care. The man, I mean, I like Phil. Not Phil. Well, I don't know Phil, but I assume I would like Phil. But I like Sean Layden a great deal. He's a very good person. But, all you have to do to Sean Layden to kind of strike back at Sean Layden is like, hey, killed or tortured any Uyghurs lately? Because, he's working for the Chinese government. That's what I would say. But no, I my own personal experience with Sean Layden, the ex-head of PlayStation, has always been good. He's a salt of the earth, good fella. He felt Phil Spencer was talking about him. Yeah, well, it was all I could do last evening not to just sort of post something. I had a little scenario in my mind about Phil Spencer and his wife, and she's like, Phil, do that slimy console stuff to me tonight. Because Phil Spencer called it slimy console something. And I was just like, what a strange turn of a phrase. But he was talking about, hey, we're not going to do the thing that Sony used to do, which is get exclusives and then let the people on PlayStation get early access or access to this weapon or these outfits or whatever. So is what I would say. That's what he was talking about, But I thought the way he expressed it was kind of goofy. Jaffe, what about Jeff's tweet about Gears and then getting owned? I live on the internet for this show and also I enjoy it, but you're going to have to, do me a favor when you put a chat like that in there, give me a little context. I have no idea what you're talking about as it relates to Jeff Keighley. I did see that, and I don't know how real this was. You guys know that guy Colt Eastwood? He's been on the show before. He does a lot of Xbox stuff on YouTube. Apparently he went up to Jeff Keighley and was like trying to be all nice to him and stuff, and Keighley just blew him off. And I'm just like, Keighley's always been really nice to me. I don't know. I don't get the sense Keighley's a dick, but hey, maybe to sort of the Gen Pop, which I am not. I am not the Gen Pop. Have you seen the new merch? It's the goddamn Sweet Tooth Ice Cream Shop hoodie. You can own one too. Shut up. Welcome to Cabinet Games. Xbox stated it was a timed exclusive. Yeah, I don't fucking know. Who the fuck knows? All right. You guys don't like Colt Eastwood. He's always been a nice guy. He's always been a nice fella. I like Colt Eastwood. He's a good dude. Anyway, all right. Let's move forward. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the headlines for Summer Games Fest. I thought this was a really neat, interesting article here. Let me bring this over to you guys. What's happening in my life? Where is this? Jaffe, so-and-so. Okay, here we go. That's what I wanted. Let's take a look at this. This is a company called Fan Census. They decided to figure out what games from last week have gotten the most traffic, the most excitement on the internet, on Twitter and whatnot. So it's called a Flare score. They consider the quantity of articles about certain games and other metrics, including reach of approximately 3,000 featured websites. This is coming from Game Industry Biz. The split between headlining articles and those that merely mention the title and presence of articles on a website's front page. That gives them a score called the Flare score. And in that, it's going to let us know what most people were talking about last week. Okay. It's the top 20. I'll just jump around. Once we get to the top 10, I'll give you the whole top. I give them all. Yeah, I like lists. I know lists are hard on audio, but Harry Potter Quidditch Champions is number 20 with a 40 Flare score. I played that alpha. It was not good. But that was alpha. It was a while ago. Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero was 19. 18 was surprisingly low. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. I would have thought that it had gotten a lot more interesting and interest by the gamers out there, but apparently not so much. Looked great. 17 is Black Myth Wukong, which is pretty low given, I believe that's become a PlayStation timed exclusive now, which is exactly kind of what they need going into Christmas. We'll talk about their two games that people played at the show. State of Decay is 16, Monster Hunter Wild is 15, 14, Life is Strange Double Exposure. Here we go, 13. No surprise here, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is not in the top 10. I'm an indie fan. I love Indiana Jones with all my heart and soul. But it's a dead franchise, and maybe this game will, give it some life again. I hope it will, because I love Indy, and the trailer looked pretty good. But most kids today, my kids, their friends, younger certainly don't know who the fuck Indiana Jones is, or it's just nothing to them. Stalker 2 is number 12. Imagine that, day and age in America, where Stalker 2 will premiere higher than Indiana Jones. 11, Civ 7, Civilization 7. Here we go. The top 10 games that were being discussed on the internet after all of the shows ended last week. Here we go. With a Flare score of 43, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater comes in at top 10. Number 9, pretty low for this one. I would have expected higher. Assassin's Creed Shadows, Flare score 45. Perfect Dark, number 8. Valorant, go fuck yourself. 47, and that's probably just because it's coming to consoles. Look pretty good. I haven't played it on PC. Lego Horizon Adventures, staggeringly stupid idea, but we'll talk about that today. That's got a pretty high score. Number 6, 49 Flare. Dragon Age The Veilguard at number 50. Now, I know they put out, they're not number 50, number 5, Flare score of 50. I know they put out their longer, in-depth gameplay, and I watched a little bit of it, and it certainly looks a lot better than the trailer. My guess, though, is most people talking about Dragon Age were not talking about how excited they were when this score was calculated. They were talking about how disappointed and stupid it looked, because it did. But now it looks a lot better. But that trailer, whoever made that trailer for those guys should have been like, what in the fuck are you guys thinking? Number 4 is Avowed. Which is cool. I'm looking forward to that game. That's also got a 50 Flare score. Gears of War E-Day is number 3. Doom The Dark Ages is number 2 with a flare score of 60. Can you guess what the number one game is? Can you guess what the number one game is that everybody was talking about last week and this weekend as it relates to all of the shows? Xboxes, Keeleys. Killer Bean, PK says, where's Killer Bean? Killer Bean's not on there. I'm very much looking forward to Killer Beans. Killer Bean, there's only one of them. It's not Monster Hunter. I don't even think Monster Hunter's number 15. Assassin's Creed's, believe it or not, number 9. It's pretty low too. Interesting. Who is it? Blue Gamer says Star Wars Outlaws. I don't even see Star Wars Outlaws on here. Well, what do you know about that? Number 1 with a flare score of 96, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So there you go. We'll be talking about that a little bit later today. I didn't want to put this in the headlines of what the show's about, but there's an example that the developers Call of Duty Black Ops 6 give of how Game Pass is already improving video games. And I know some people aren't going to agree, but we'll get to that. Is it Astrobot? No, Astrobot's not even in there. Astrobutt. Yeah, more like Astrobutt. Omni movement is a game changer, says K-Nubs. He's talking about Call of Duty 6 has omnidirectional movement. I'm not entirely sure even what that is. I know they've talked about it. I haven't seen any footage of it. My only understanding from what I gather is that you can dive left and right and leap backwards and do that when you're also sliding. Like you have a little bit more control over your character's ability to move and rotate is what I think it is, but I'm not entirely sure. But I should do a little research. So there's another survey that dropped that, like I said, this is going to be a show, not entirely, but there's going to be a lot of stuff on this show about people responding to last week versus a lot of brand new news this week because, last week was a cavalcade, a cornucopia, a cavern collapsed with content when it comes to games. Max Payne movement, says Naw Dog. How's that going to work? Some dope games dropped. You goddamn right, Mutant Mo. You goddamn right. I know what you're talking about. Wait, because I get how you could... You're telling me that it's omnidirectional movement like Max Payne, which means the right stick is aiming and the left stick is the body? Motion? I mean, that's a hell of a bit. Is that what you're saying? That's a very ballsy fucking change for a game like Call of Duty. Okay, K-Nub says, no, that's not it. Okay, because that's what Max Payne was, right? Max Payne had the mouse let you look around and aim, but your keys, your WASD keys, let you move wherever the fuck you wanted. Blue Gamer says you can run and dive in any direction. What does that mean, though? If you're running forward, I can dive to the left? So you mean like at an angle? Byte says they would never... So some people are saying what I'm saying is correct. Some people are saying no. Yeah, are those standard shooting controls? No. Well, wait a minute. You can run sideways and backwards while looking forwards, but you can do that now. Right? I don't know. I got to look into it because I don't... Everybody in the chat saying different stuff. Here's what I'll tell you. Since everybody in the chat is saying some different things, my guess is their marketing hasn't done a very good job of explaining it. But I'll give it a look. I'll tell you what, R.L. Stein, if you can send me a timestamp in the trailer where it shows it, I will bring it up. Wallace Shaw and I've played Max Payne 3. It's fucking delightful. But yeah, send me a link. Let's take a look at it. Most modern shooters only let you sprint forwards. Yeah, we just added 10 points to the flare score talking about it. Bearskin says, but that's normal controls. The strafing midair in any direction and sprinting backwards. Yeah, he's saying that's normal. All right, well, show it to me. I'll take a look at it. Anyway, I'm curious. Capcom also dropped a survey, though, is the point. This is from, if you remember, Capcom kind of opened up a little... it sounds better than it is. They opened up kind of like a little virtual theme park online on their website where you can visit all these different little, and it's all stupid. It's not very good. But the heart of it was a survey called Capcom Super Elections. And the deal is they've revealed it today. Here we go. I want to tell you what some of these are. The first question, what Capcom games do you like the best? It says no Mega Man ranked amongst the worldwide top 10, but Mega Man Legends ranked as number 8 in Japan. Mega Man X number 10 in the world. Let's go to the full chart. I'll show it to you guys. We'll see what the kids were saying. So most people put Devil May Cry number 1, Dino Crisis 2, RE4 number 3, number 4 DMC 3, number 5 Okami. These are, you got to be a hardcore fanboy anyway to go to this site, sign up, and take a survey. So this is probably not reflective of the buying public. At the very bottom, wow, Onimusha's at the very fucking bottom. I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight. RE Village is down there. I thought more people enjoyed RE Village, but there you go. So Monster Hunter. Do we have any Monster? We have Monster Hunter coming in at number 6 is the earliest. Resident Evil 2 Remake is number 8. See, I would imagine that would have been towards the very top, but there you go. Okay, so where's Power Stone? I don't know, but there's actually some Power Stone adjacent news coming up later in today's show, if you like. Byte says nobody gives a fuck about Onimusha. That's because they're idiots. Onimusha is a classic. It's an excellent game. But to be perfectly fair, there's really no reason to remake that game because there's so many games now that are basically Onimusha with better combat, better camera, better controls, all that stuff. So that's one of the surveys. And they asked more questions. They wanted to know your favorite Capcom character, Dante, number 1. Leon, number 2. Mega Man or X, number 3. Where is Claire? My girlfriend is Claire. She don't even make the top 10. That's fine. Less competition for me. Fine. Are any Capcom game series that you want a new one? Mega Man series was 2. The number 1 we all know is Dino Crisis. Capcom is very aware that Dino Crisis is much in demand by its fan base. And it's also an extremely commercial idea. I don't know why, and they probably are. They just haven't revealed it yet. But the idea of basically remaking Resident Evil 2 remake, but doing it with dinosaurs, that's basically what we're talking about. It's a fucking slam dunk, man. It's a fucking slam dunk. Maybe they have to struggle over how violent to make it because we know kids love the dinosaurs. Maybe there's like a PG-13 version. I don't fucking know why it's taken them so long, but I'm looking forward to it. You know what else is not on the list is that new game they just put out, that not Dino Crisis, but the Exo Planet suit thing. That's not on the list, where you fight all the dinosaurs. That was really fun for about 20 minutes. It was fun in the same way that like Earth Defense Force is fun, or one of those arcade gun games is fun. After you watch a movie, you come out, you play it for 5-10 minutes, you move on with your fucking life. Tim Duncan says, Jaffe, you still a Star Wars fan after the latest episode of Acolyte? I haven't watched the latest episode. I love Star Wars, but it's just, it's just like Marvel at this point. They're just making too much content. I saw today that they're like, the first James Gunn DCU product is coming out in December, which is some Creature Commandos. I'm just like, you know what, guys? Just because you got the brand, you don't need to make things all the time. Let us get sick of it. So I honestly, I still love Star Wars. And there's good and there's bad, just like Star Trek, just like everything. But I have not watched Acolyte. I've heard it's created some people complaining, but people complaining at this point, it's the same old shit. I don't care. I don't think I'll ever watch it. I have too many things to watch and it just doesn't seem all that interesting. No, I get that Creature Commandos is animated. What I'm saying is we don't need, in my opinion, I don't think we need all of this shit. It's just too much of the same stuff. Did you get sick of comics every month? No, I didn't. But it took me 5 minutes to read a comic. And they didn't seem to be really, they still felt very different. You had so few movies That's all you got. Wait, you said let us get sick, but how does that happen unless they crank out boring? I'm just saying if they just they don't have to make Star Wars just because they can. They should greenlight a Star Wars movie or show when they got an idea that sounds great. Okay. Is there a game you would like to see completely remade with the latest technology, Capcom wants to know, including character design and story direction? Listen to this. Mega Man 1 to 3 remakes were number 4. Number 3 was Breath of Fire. Number 2, Onimusha. And then a melody of unknown games, i.e. not any of the initial choices, were the ones that came in at number 1. It's kind of cool. So it says, all in all, Mega Man fared pretty well. However, the survey represents only a small sample of millions who play Capcom games. I mean, Mega Man... what would you do with Mega Man at this point? I mean, you could do it like a Ratchet game, I think could be cool, but, short of that. Okay, it's 9:40, but tell me what's the link, though? Tell me what I YouTube R.L. Stein to see this Call of Duty motion. Jaffe will never complain about progressive garbage like Star Wars, but always about conservative media. Well, because I haven't watched what you're talking about, so I would have to see, what you're talking about. But to be fair, I'm a very progressive guy, probably the most progressive guy you know. And in that, I can watch something and appreciate how maybe it's not for conservative folks, and I'll enjoy it more than they will. But there's nothing about any of the recent Star Wars stuff that makes me go, I've got to see that story, right? It's just the only thing with Star Wars or Marvel right now. Like, I'm not like chomping at the bit to see Thunderbolts from Marvel either, because it's maybe it'll be great and I'll see it, but there's nothing about it that is that kind of makes me go, holy cow, that it sounds like a great story, but it might be. Okay, R.L. Stein says he put it. You can't send links. I'll just look it up real quick. Hang on, I want to see this before we move on to the next game story. Okay, so what do we got? We got Call of Duty 6 omni direction movement. All right, let's see what comes up. Videos. Video. Okay, here we go. And this should be at 9. I bet this is it. Okay, here we go. This is what you guys are talking about, correct? Tell me if I'm seeing the right thing here. Okay, wait a second. So in this case, the normal thing, it would just rotate me around and I would have my shot there. But when it's on, I jump back and I can rotate in the air. So most of this is what happening in specific cases, like when you're off the ground. Like, you can't do it when you're just running normally, can you? Okay, so there I can do that now, right? I can do what he's doing here when he leaps out the window. Isn't that what I can do now, or no? It's almost looks so fluid that it's like, what's new about it? Maybe you have to play it to see. I don't want to turn the volume on because I don't know if I'm going to get a copyright strike. I don't know what the fuck they're playing. So I think I get the idea. Okay, here's some more. Here we go. Okay. All right. So he's running. Then it's going to go to a little gray blocked environment to show how it actually is. So he's sliding backwards. Okay, that I've been able to do before. Okay, here we go. So guy's running, he leaps. Okay, so it's basically so it's context of you're either sliding and you can rotate, or you're sprinting in multiple directions. Okay, so it's basically faster speed while you're aiming and shooting, whereas before you could strafe left and right, but you would go slower. Okay, that's cool. That's fucking cool. I'm down. I've been excited for this anyway. Yeah, K-Nub says you got to be sprinting to do it. Okay, got it. Okay, Living Legend, thank you for the super chat. He says, Jaffe, did you check out the Nico Dorico trailer? The game transitions from 2D to 3D, combining Tropical Freeze and Crash 4. That's not the game from Capcom, is it? But let me look that up, because no, I don't know what that is. Nico Dorico. Okay, Nico Dorico. Okay, this is something totally different. What am I looking at? Is this new? When did this come out? 4 days ago. Okay, let's see what we got. All right, so if you're listening and not watching, it's like a little character 2D, 2.5D platformer. He's running around collecting some bullshit. And what am I supposed to see happen? Is he going to just run into the screen in a second? I mean, it's got to be more than that, right? Because we've seen that in games for a long time. So what am I missing? I mean, I'm always up for a good, character-based platformer, but this just kind of looks typical, right? Okay, just the fact that sometimes you can go into the screen. I mean, haven't we seen this before? Not this game, but I mean, games have done this for a while, haven't they? Where it becomes like Crash 2D or Crash into the screen, then back to 2.5D. But it's cool. I'm in. Yeah, I've watched all the Twisted Metal. It was great. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't. Again, I mean, this was something I know way back on PS1. A lot of developers, us included, were like, "Hey, would that work?" But I don't think this is. It could be cool though. It could be cool. As an older gamer, seeing so many people complaining about games these days says understanding is crazy. Yeah, I mean it may not be it. I think it's important to recognize though that most of that is it's the same as it's always been. Probably. I don't know if that's true, but it's amplified. And it really is. It's important. I think to remind ourselves of that as often as we can, because otherwise it gives you a real distorted view of things. I was stunned to see. I showed this on the stream a while back. I was stunned to see a newsletter back in the day of Star Wars, the original, and Empire Strikes Back, where a bunch of the fans were like saying we're abandoning Star Wars and it's crap now because Empire Strikes Back was terrible. And most people are like, dude, Empire Strikes Back is one of the best movies ever made, let alone the best Star Wars movie ever made easily. But, I'm not giving anybody advice but me. All I can tell you is I've been trying harder to remind myself that, that the amplification is such a meaningful reason why my view of the world is what it is. In my view of the world, because the amplification is wrong. Gaming was never good, just a bunch of nostalgic fake gamers crying. No, gaming's always been good. Gaming right now is better than it's ever been, honestly. But I've had that conversation 1,000 times. Do we really want to have it again? You're either in or out. Let's talk about Elden Ring real quick. This is fascinating to me. So, I mean, now, look, this was, the word on the street has always been that the creator of Elden Ring and the various From games, Miyazaki, who's the lead designer and now the head of the company, has been like, hey, I designed these games so people can work together, so people can solve it together, get on the internet, blah, blah, blah. That's always been the myth, and that's always been this, and it seems correct. But this was interesting because today there was an article where he was being interviewed. It says Elden Ring creator approves not just of that, but of guides. And he's talking about how, here's what it says. This is Game Rant. Miyazaki revealed he thinks it's valid for players of his Souls games to use guides, either for one-off help or throughout an entire playthrough. At the same time, Miyazaki stressed the studio doesn't design its games with guides in mind, saying we don't necessarily cater to players who are reading guides as they go. Of course, it's a valid play style. We respect those players who approach it. We just want to let you know it's not our prerequisite designing the game in their favor. Now, let's be clear. I would hope that this guy is assuming that we're understanding that he is still saying, if what he's saying is we're not designing our games for guides, but we are designing our games where we know most players are going to have to work together, then I think that's incredibly valid. But if he actually thinks anyone can pop in a game like Elden Ring and solve it within a year without talking to other people, I think he's out of his goddamn fucking mind. Because I'm not the world's best gamer when it comes to a lot of things, certainly not reflexes and shit. But I'm a pretty smart guy when it comes to playing certain games, and you can't tell me that anybody who solved this fucking game did it without either just getting extremely lucky or talking to other people. Because there is so much shit in this game that if you don't understand it, you're just like, wait, what is happening? I can't even get to places I need to get to. And again, this is my favorite game of all time. I'm not knocking on the game. I adore it. He says, this I thought was interesting, though, because he's talking about, he says he wants to reach a point where Souls players don't need to use guides while still being challenged. It's important for players to be able to feel like they can play and beat Souls games without guides, he implies. In Elden Ring's case, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but yeah, you know, if guide is one thing, but you can't tell me you were able to solve this without help from other people. Looking up guides kills the sense of accomplishment. I agree, Keon. That's why up until this game, when I started realizing there were certain things that I had to do to beat it and to be successful, and I was like, okay, this has got nothing to do with my discipline or skill. I never would have known to do what I'm being asked to do if it wasn't for people on the internet. So, you know, no. Blood Money says, I'm playing ER right now, and it's baffling how badly the game is balanced. I don't think it's a poorly balanced game. I think what it is it does a poor job of explaining how you need or how you get better. You know, because it's actually well balanced. It's just the balance has more to do with, oh, I'm getting my ass kicked, and it's not about sitting here and continuing to bang your head against the wall. It's about going, oh, there are a handful of things I can do next to make that balancing turn in my favor, is what I would say. And that's one of the things that's great about it. But here's the reckless part, though. This stat was fascinating to me, man. Absolutely fascinating to me. This stat, under 40% of Elden Ring players are ready for Shadow. Listen to this, the Erdtree, the new one. 38% of Steam players only 38% of Steam players have gotten to where they need to get and done what they need to do in order to actually be able to activate the DLC when they buy it. 35%, 34.6% of PlayStation players and 23% of Xbox players. Meaning the number of people, how many people are going to buy this fucking thing day one because they enjoy it? And I mean, you can beat Elden Ring without even having done this. And how many people are going to buy this day one? Probably a lot, because it was a success. And even though a lot of people didn't finish it, they loved it and go, I don't understand. How do I see the new stuff? It's like, well, I'm just saying I get it, and good for them for making exactly what they want to make. But my goodness, that seems really, I mean, it's cool. You know, you got the money, you got the power, make what you want to make. You know, I know Bloodborne was similar, but Bloodborne was much, wasn't as successful, and it wasn't, I don't think it was as long either as Elden Ring. As to if you can return it or not, yeah, I have no clue. Luke says it's bold of them to require you to be that for the game to play the DLC. It is bold. It's reckless. It's bold. It's interesting. That's for sure. Kyle says, I like Elden Ring, but it feels a lot like the fans, even the creator, kind of gatekeep these games, like you're not as good as us kind of thing. You know, I get that sometimes. I have always found the community to be pretty helpful. You know, but I do get what you're saying. There's an obnoxiousness about video game fans in general, but certainly this kind of game, like the whole thing with easy mode, we're not going to get into that because it's been talked to death, but I mean, you can't even really have that conversation with these people, because for me, I would love Elden Ring to let me slow it down a little bit. The reason I haven't finished it is it's gotten to the point now that even though my character is well over 100 in my level, and I've respec'd him 50 fucking, not 50, but as many times as I can, I have a few larval tears left. I still am like, oh shit, it's a boss. And I know that I better just sort of hunker down for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, couple of weeks before that thing's dead. And there's so many fucking bosses that I'm just like, oh, come on. And if I could just slow the game down. You don't have to make the guy easier. You don't have to give him less hit points. You don't have to make me stronger. But there's a point where it's just like, I'm 53 years old, man. I don't have the reflexes of a 20-year-old. Why can't I enjoy the game as well? I mean, that's okay. It's their game. I support their right to make whatever the fuck they want. But there is a point where it's like, Miyazaki, pal, I love this game. I love the world. I love Bloodborne. I love Demon Souls. I love everything you're doing. But get off your fucking high horse and help a man out, for God's fucking sakes. That's what I would say. That's what I would fucking say. Whatever. Listen to this. Torqueman Mod. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. He says, Jaffe, I love you. I love you too. I love you in the biblical way. I don't even know what that means. I know it means we're fucking, but I don't know why it's the biblical way. I love you, Jaffe. I'm an indie dev, and I'm curious what it would take to get you to play my game and give me your opinion, even if it's not a live play. I don't know. Send it to me. I mean, if I like it, like I'll give you an example. Today, there's this game. I'm going to get back in a minute to Elden Ring, but I want to show you what I'm talking about, right? So there's this game on Twitter. It's in this person. I don't know who they are, but I'm just going to show you guys. This person put up a, it's called Declines Drops, I believe is what they call it. And they basically put up a tweet saying, does my game look boring or uninteresting? Don't be afraid to be rude. I can handle it. It's up on Steam. They're struggling to reach new people, right? And so I just went off and I played the whole thing, and I just wrote, I'm like, here's a bunch of fucking shit. Do what you want with it, right? So I'm always happy if I have time to give people opinions for whatever they're worth. So if you want to, but unless you want to pay me, which you don't need to do, the only reason I would take payment is because I'm like, you either want a lot of attention on it or I don't want to play it. And I'm like, okay, there's a pain in the ass for me because I don't like games like that. But assuming it's like, oh, that sounds cool, I'll totally just do it. And I'll, give you some feedback for, like I said, whatever that's worth. What kind of game is it? That's always fun to do. It's always fun to play people's shit that they're passionate about, Okay, I'm looking at the chat here about Elden Ring. I wonder how well the DLC, says Brett Moore, on Elden Ring will sell, seeing so many first-time Souls players bought it and gave up. Yeah. That's the thing. Byte says you can just spec up to mage build. I mean, maybe I'll stream myself, and I'll just, at this point, if I don't have any plans for tonight, I'm not sure yet. I'll just maybe play some Elden and see if the chat can help me, make some advancement in it. It is, Masakista says it's a skill issue. It is a skill issue. But again, it's Aki Max says, go play something else then. Go suck your mother's cock then. How about that, Aki Max? I don't want to go play something else. I bought the fucking strategy guides or the art books. I completed Bloodborne. I played the shit out of Demon Souls. I'm a fan. But I'm sorry, there's a point where, and again, Miyazaki doesn't owe me a game. I have a right to just go, I'm not going to buy it, and that's fine. I'm just saying that for a guy, I mean, seriously, if you're a creator or a business, for a guy who loves me as much as you love their stuff, you'd think they'd go, you know what, maybe we can do something to kind of, you know, and maybe I don't know how old Miyazaki is. Somebody look it up if you don't mind. I would appreciate it. But maybe you just got to wait. You got to wait till you get to a certain age where it's clearly no longer a skill issue. And it's clearly an issue with your reflexes and your inability to move and process data as fast as you did when you were 20. And it's okay if they want to just say, well, yeah, go fuck yourself. You're too old for my game. I support that. But I don't need you telling me that, Akimax. I need Miyazaki. If he wants to say, yeah, I'm okay with that, cool. Absolutely. And he may be saying that through his actions, which is totally fine too. Bloody Money says, Blood Money says, it's not your fault, Jaffe. It's badly designed in some ways. After the first Dark Souls, their only concern was making the games frustrating so people would talk about them. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly those games being really difficult. That's not even right. There's a real danger with this genre, right? Because what works about the genre is it's so fucking hard until you crack the code of, oh, I need to do a build this way, or I need to explore and find these things, or I didn't understand that this item could combine with this item to create, there is fun in that, right? There is fun in being up against this totally seemingly impossible challenge and knowing that there is a solve. But the problem that I'm coming up against is not that. It's now I'm coming up against reflex issues. It's like I can respect my guy till the cows come home, but I'm not able to process fast enough the 4 frames of animation when the knight is starting to lift his sword to know it's time for me to dive backwards. My brain doesn't process it that fast. There's nothing I can do with that, no matter what I build the guy with. Okay. All right. I'm reading the chat. Sorry, fellas. You guys are talking a lot, which I appreciate. Get the Mimic tier. I got the Mimic tier maxed out. I got the Rivers of Blood almost maxed out. I just can't find a certain last stone. My minimum health vigor minimum of 40. Are you kidding? It's like at 100. I'm not playing, a character that's like level 6. They're over 100. And I've got I got the Mimic tier. I've got a bunch of larval or whatever they're called, larval tiers, so I can respect my dude. It's really just hard. I need a deck. Well, here's what I'll do. Awesome, Tatum. Like I said, tonight, if I'm not doing something with the family, I'll come online. If you're around, I would absolutely love some help when respecking. Because, okay, get the Bloodhound Fang. Where? Okay, we'll get back to it anyway. But the bigger point of this is that, yeah, what a ballsy move. And that's cool that they're at this level making ballsy moves, man. It's kind of this year's version of Death Stranding, which is like a super expensive art game. Lord Garth says some devs use dynamic difficulty. That can be good too. Yeah, I mean the one last thing I'll say, I promise. I know we don't want to go on this forever. The last thing I'll say is some people go on about get good, right? And unfortunately, I have to say, and I don't mean to be a dick to you, but you probably either aren't very intelligent about this issue, or you haven't just taken, you might be very intelligent, but you just haven't taken the time to think it through. Because get good, like what you're basically, what you think you're saying is this. It is like, let's say you can track out difficulty on a scale and say, I am this guy. I am Fred, not Fred Flugelhorn. Fuck you. Hate that guy. Nice guy in real life. Met him in real life on the set of Marvin, actually. But anyway, the point is, you're Fred, and Elden Ring final boss difficulty for you is a 6 out of 10. Okay? Excellent. And you say, Jaffe, if I say, well, what's it for you, Jaffe? I'm like, for me, it's a 10 out of 10, meaning it's harder. 10 out of 10. You're like, get good. The problem is you think me getting good will bring me to a 6 out of 10. My 6 out of 10 is your 2 out of 10. So when you say there shouldn't be difficulty in this game, and I agree, there shouldn't be difficulty if the part's difficulty, the solution is exploring or respecking. But when you actually think just because your experience with combat based on your ability and reflexes is everyone else's and they're just complaining, but you solved it, I'm sorry, but we're not all starting from the same place. And in that, you're actually not, when you say no difficulty on Elden Ring or get good on Elden Ring or anything like that, you're not actually saying what you think you're saying. What you're saying really is it's good enough for me with my skill set, but I don't experience someone like your experience, Jaffe, but I'm going to give you advice as if I do. And you don't, so shut the fuck up. Okay. Let me get some of these chats. I appreciate them very much, you kind humans. Okay, Derek, thank you, buddy. He says, how is onboarding in Elden Ring any different than the onboarding in Metroid Dread, if at all? Great question, and thank you for that very generous super chat. Here's what I would say. It's actually it's a wonderful question because it highlights why Elden Ring is so brilliant, and it's my favorite game of all time, right? Which is in Metroid Dread, and whether or not you think I was right or wrong about I should have gotten the memo of shoot everything if you're stuck. Let's just assume for the moment that we're not talking about that. I came to a room and I couldn't advance. And there were no other places to advance. There was only one critical path in that game. And so because for whatever reason, their fault, my fault, it's always the developer's fault though, just so you know, when it comes to something like this, in my opinion. And I've been on the guilty end as well with my games. But when I came to a position where I didn't have the data to know what I could do next to advance, I quit because there was no other options available. What makes Elden Ring so brilliant is, you come to your first couple bosses, you're like, fuck this nonsense. But all you do is get on your horse and ride around the corner. And anything from like, oh, there's some monsters I can kill. Oh, I see how this works. Let me level up and go back. Oh, and that's just traditional RPG shit. Or, hey, I was looking for something to level up with and I found this cave and there's this cool fucking lore in this cave and cool new monsters and cool new armor and weapons and items and story elements. And so what Elden Ring does is it very rarely, if ever, really eventually it will, but it very rarely traps you and says, this is the golden path and if you don't follow it, you're not making any advancements. Metroid Dread is exactly that. You get to that room and you can backtrack till your heart's content. And I did that for about an hour going, maybe it's here, maybe it's here, maybe it's here. But if you don't know to go into that room versus any other room and just start randomly shooting, especially when it's the first time the game has presented that to you, that's why it's bad onboarding. Back to Torque, the developer, who says, Jaffe, can you play my game? Thank you for the super chat again, buddy. He says, you play as a werewolf and kill hippies for a high score. Search for beast mode Night of the Werewolf. I'll tell you what, follow me on Twitter and send me a note after the stream. In fact, hang on, maybe I can. Alexa, remind me at 11:30 tonight to look at beast mode Night of the Werewolf. Alexa, remind me tonight at 11:30 to look at beast mode Night of the Werewolf. All right, so I'll try to look at it tonight. If I see you on the next show, ask me what I thought. Okay. Looking at the chat, we're going to move on. Okay. I can't believe they only showed a CG trailer for Sands of Time. Yeah, but that's the thing. You're talking about the Ubisoft Forward. The thing with that, though, is it clearly was in trouble. They announced they're bringing on some new people, a new group to work on it. And so hopefully we'll actually start to see something pretty soon. Okay, listen, I want to show you this, but I'm going to put the link up if anybody's interested in calling into the show. You can be on camera. You don't have to be on camera. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I'm a rebel. And, contribute with your thoughts, your views, your loves, your hates. But here's what I'll tell you, though. Hang on a second. Let me get this from Bad Robo says, there's the link right there, fellas. Bad Robo says Elden Ring is simply difficult and you are not the only one who has problems. The fact that you are over 50 is just a good excuse. You have to play more. No, I'm sorry. You're just wrong. You're just wrong. What I'm telling you is what you just wrote is the problem. What you just wrote is my fun factor at 30 doing the exact same thing is going to be worse than my fun factor at 50. So what you're setting up is a system that says, as you get older, or if you don't have not the learnable skill, but just the kind of inherent speed of brain power, you're not going to enjoy it as much. And your excuse is you should just play it more and get good. And my answer is no. And that's fine if they lose customers over that. That's totally okay. That is their prerogative. But don't act as if our experiences are going to be the same if I just get good. Because you're not as good as I am when it comes to, well, you might be, but you're not experiencing the same level of challenge that I am, is what I would say. And in that, you really don't have a pot to piss in as it relates to this topic, is what I would say, my good sir. Yeah, I understand not every game is for everyone, Bad Robo. I get it. Again, you act like I'm saying to From Software, you have to change your games, and I'm not. And Gravedigger says you might just not like Soulsborne. I almost finished Demon Souls. I adored it. I literally played co-op with the fucking developer of Blue Point. I finished Bloodborne. Elden Ring's my favorite game of all time. Don't fucking tell me I don't like those games. I love them. But I'm just saying that, yes, I have arrived at a point where they're too hard for me. And in that, I don't know if I can solve that just by respecking. It's not like see, this is dumb. Ultra Awesome says it's like asking to dumb down chess. No, it's actually not. It's like saying, I'm not going to play chess against Bobby Fischer. But I will play chess against, somebody who's got the roughly same level of experience. And guess what? Me playing against somebody who's an average chess player is probably the same experience Bobby Fischer had when he was playing against the number 2 chess player. You're both getting the same level of juice and experience. But you guys are basically saying, no, you need to be able to play against Bobby Fischer and enjoy it, or you don't like chess. And I'm like saying, go down to the nearest corner and go suck your own cock. Hey, speaking of, there's my nephew, Daniel. What's up, Daniel? He says, do you do the New York Times connection? I didn't do it today, but every night we all get together and we do Wordle, and then we do, there's an actual order we do it in too. We do Wordle. We do, hang on, I don't want to lose that. God damn it, Jaffe. We do Wordle, and then we do Connections, and then we do the mini crossword, and then we do Spelling Bee. But we only do Spelling Bee because we try to get the pangram. We don't do it for anything else. And then we wrap it up with Strands, which is it's in beta, but it's so good. Strands is really fucking good. So yeah, but it's a movie one tonight, Daniel. Excellent. I will give it a play. Excellent. The Bobby Fischer reference says Ninja is swooshing over young heads. Well, they can go look it up. All right, I'm going to bring Dave S. in for a moment. Dave S. is Jaffe. What's going on, bud?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Doing a stream. What you doing?
I'm relaxing from a long business trip.
Who's Guster?
Guster's band.
Is Bant?
A band.
A band. Music. Understood. All right, what's up? What do you want to talk about?
Earlier when you were talking about. Sorry, I'm getting an echo on my side.
Oh, it's my bad. Let me fix it. Here you go. Okay.
Yep, that's good. I'm not getting one. Cool. So earlier when we were talking about, and I'm not going to bring up woke games because that shit pisses me off just as much as it probably pisses you off, only you get it a lot more. Do you think with gamers today, because I know you mentioned a lot that media literacy just across the board seems like it's really down. Do you think that that, along with business acumen and economic knowledge, is also pretty much terrible for people today, especially with buying power and understanding how businesses work. Is
I don't know. Yes, or it's always been this bad, and we're just exposed to how stupid we've all been. I don't
okay.
know. I don't know which one it is, but the fact is, it's a problem either way. I think a lot of it has to do with the curriculum that public schools teach, and I don't think it's a problem. I imagine if you ask most teachers, do they think we should change the curriculum? They would say yes, but you know how it is. It's so political about what the schools get to teach and what's federal and what's state. But when you look at things like media literacy, civics, just basic economics, we used to have civics and economics, and I'm not saying they don't teach any of that anymore, but I am staggered by how little people seem to know these days when they come out of high school or college when it comes to things like how our government works
Yeah.
or how to read a newspaper and how to understand bias on both sides. I think it's a real, the older I get, the more conspiratorial I get. And so but even that, I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I could be wrong in the fact that it is a motivated ploy by the powers that be to keep us stupid. It may just be, it makes cash and people like cash, and this is a side effect. I don't have, but the number of people I see online that act like they have the skinny when 99% of us, including me, don't really have the skinny. I'd rather them just say, yeah, this is what I think and this is what I feel, but I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't, people are like, oh, Trump was a kangaroo court and Biden did this. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, probably. They're all
I hear
corrupt,
you.
probably. But I'm like, I don't fucking know. I get the sense that the Trump thing went down legally, but I also know I'm biased. I also think I hate the guy, and so I'm going to color my view that way. But I'm not so biased that I'm not going to have an open mind when someone tries to bring me some facts. So I
Yeah.
fucking agree with you, man. I think it's. I wish we could all just get a lot more self-aware when it comes to how we process information.
Yeah, and my hope is that it's just a lot of people on the internet thing, because I know, like, I'm a millennial myself. I'm 36.
Yeah.
I've worked in, I technically work for the government right now, but I've worked for businesses, and now I'm in the middle of my career. The younger college grads coming in, they don't seem to be as ill-informed. I think, at least outwardly in the workplace, they don't. They seem to. I think there's a difference in, they know how to do things really efficiently, but they don't necessarily understand how the sausage is made. So there can be a knowledge gap of, they know how to do things, but they don't know why you should do it that way.
But isn't that
But
just normal because they're new
yeah,
employees?
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they'll understand that more as they gain more experience and
Right.
start making the sausage themselves.
I mean,
Um,
I mean, there's two things. There's the world they came up in, which is very different than the world I came up in, and I
yeah,
don't fault them for that. I mean, they had a lot of. I mean, I can't imagine what it would have been like, even though they say we didn't worry about it. To go to school after Columbine,
oh
and
yeah,
and
oh
somewhere
yeah.
in your mind every day you're having to worry about that shit. I don't. That's got to affect you.
Yeah, and I mean, it affected me. Like, I was in middle school when Columbine happened, and it was always a thought. Like, I remember, we had school shooting drills and bomb scares and crap like that when I was in high school, and then 9/11 and all that kind of shit. And
Right. I mean, so
it's
so I think there's a valid sense that that generation or to some degree where you draw the line of which generation has changed.
yeah,
But then I also think there is a real danger of the lack of critical thinking on all of us.
yeah, and that's what scares me, because you see the tribalism online, and it's really bad. But you also see people don't understand marketing and PR from um, you know financial and PR disclosures, and and they also don't
Right,
seem to
right.
understand. They don't seem to understand the same end. Um, you know, when a business is making a decision, like, for example, Game Pass versus Sony not releasing games into PlayStation Premium on day one for the most part. They don't understand that it's completely different. Both companies are trying to make money, make as much money, but each company is trying to do a completely different business model.
Yeah, well, sure. And you would
nobody
think
gets that.
Well, I think a lot of people might get that, but I think where I agree with you is the inability or the willingness might even be better on the part of a lot of game fans to actually just go, oh, well, Phil Spencer said this, or what was the guy's name? Jim Ryan said this. And so that now is fact because they would never lie. And so I'm going to use that to build my discussion points. And it's like, dude, you're not in an earnings call where the FCC can fucking slap you down if you lie to your investors. It's exactly. PR. They're all, you know.
That's what I loved about when Phil Spencer was like, we're not going to, it feels slimy to hold back things from other platforms when they would definitely do that. But they told the, the whole lawsuit, I'm blanking, FTC, they told the FTC, hey, it's gonna be equal on every single platform, and we're gonna bring it to Nintendo too. So they legally have to. It can't be.
It's got to be parity. That's right.
It's got to be comparative. So they
now the marketing spin is
they don't want to be slimy.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be slimy there, but you'll lay off people. It's like you will do whatever you have to do to make your money, to keep your job, and that's fine. That's the business. But I wish gamers would just go, oh yeah, we know you're full of shit. Yeah. But when he said that, I saw people online going, yeah, see, Phil's back. He's our boy. He's got he understands. He's one of us. I'm like, dude, shut up. I loved the Xbox conference. I thought it was great. I still think they have a big mountain to climb, but I hope they get over it because I love their vision. But I don't. These ain't your goddamn friends. I don't know.
No, they want your money. They want your money. They want you to think they're your friends.
But, you know, fuck, get an AI friend on ChatGPT. They're more dependable. All right, Dave, thank you, buddy. I appreciate the call. Man. All right. Let me bring in the game developer himself, Torque Mod. What's up, buddy? Are you there? You're muted, Torque.
I thought you had to unmute me. Sorry.
No, it doesn't.
No.
You have to do it to me.
Right. Okay. I love it. I love you.
I love you, too. Let's make a baby.
Well, saying you love me in the biblical sense, I always thought that meant you wanted to touch penises, but apparently it just means that you're willing to die for me.
I don't know. Just when people say things, like "I love you" in a biblical way, like it's a joke, it means that I want to fuck you, is what I thought. But
yeah, I agreed too. But apparently it means you're willing to die for me. So if you love me that much, I appreciate it.
Not so much. What's going on?
Not much. I just wanted to say hi. I also totally agree with your stance on games being way too fucking hard. Like, I don't understand the idea that fans have that you can't put like an easier mode in for people who just want to experience the game and explore the world and not have to die 1,000 times in order to get good.
I get that, but I don't even agree with that. I'm a very big believer in the vision of the artist. Of if Miyazaki's like, this is my vision and I want people to feel this vision, I think that's excellent. And he's not willing to compromise. My issue is not that. My issue are the game fans that act as if they are experiencing his vision the right way. And what they don't understand is if Miyazaki is going to say, my vision is it's a really hard game where you need to get help and you need to get good, that is fine. But ultimately, my version of getting help and getting good, because I am older and I'm a worse gamer, is a different version than what they're experiencing. And if we really do support the artist and we all want to experience Miyazaki's vision, then they would want dynamic difficulty, or they would want a slow down or speed up button so that that the greatest gamer in the world and the shittiest gamer in the world can both experience the difficulty vibe that Miyazaki's going for. But if you're a great player and I'm me, who's not a great player, you're experiencing a really hard but satisfying game. I'm experiencing something that's impossible.
Yeah,
and it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't understand why people get so upset about the idea of putting in difficulty sliders or even, as you say, dynamic difficulty, because you're literally just making sure that a certain audience won't be able to play the game. Like, I'm 44 now. I used to be really good back in the day when I played Counter-Strike and stuff, but I can't even play any of the Call of Duties online anymore, even the free ones, because I'm like, I die in 10 seconds.
Well,
sorry,
okay, so
I
have fallen in love with Call of Duty now, mostly because of the shield. And I know a lot of you can't use the shield. It's like, fuck you. I go in, I play kill confirmed, and I use the shield. And it lets me go, I can contribute meaningfully to the team because I'm always in the top 3 of kills confirmed.
Yeah.
My kill to death ratio is rubbish. But it doesn't matter because I can be part of the game and enjoy it. And it's built into that design. So
yeah,
I just think
proper role to play.
Yeah, as a former designer, I will tell you, if I could snap the feeling I want is I want everybody to feel the peaks and valleys the same. But in order to feel the peaks and valleys the same, it doesn't mean everybody gets the same tuning. It means that everybody has tuning that is adjusted to their skill, so everyone's experiencing the same thing, but not the identical experience, but they have the same emotional and play experience. So, but they don't get it, and they act like, oh, it's just it's hard. You just don't like hard games. No, it's like they don't even get what I'm saying. I don't understand why it's so hard to understand what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely, and I agree entirely. Like with my indie game that I was working on, one of the things during playtesting is I was wanting to include the ability to unlock levels. Because I actually originally released the game in 2017, and I just remastered it last summer. And I wanted to improve upon my original design. And one of the things was people were playing through the whole game just, because a level takes maybe 10 minutes. And they were going through the 6 levels that I had, and they're just going, okay, I'm completely done with the game. And I'm like, no, your point is to actually try and get a high score and post on the leaderboards. So I decided to add in level unlocking. But then I had a friend who was horrible at the game, and he couldn't unlock the level because he couldn't get a high enough score. So then based on his feedback, I was like, oh, okay, then probably what I should be doing is adding a progress bar so that it doesn't matter if you get a high score to unlock the next level. It's just progressively. If you play the same level 10 times, then you can unlock it and continue.
Right, but I would still defend your right if you said, no, I only want people to see the next level that are really fucking the best. That's great. You're going to lose a lot of customers.
No, that's exactly it.
But you're more than, you have my support as an artist to say, that's fine, but I want to express my vision that way. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thank you. I'm going to play your game. I'll hit me back later in the week.
I'll give you a free copy if I can figure out how to contact you with one.
Just
I can't message you on Twitter.
Join our Discord and send me a direct message on Discord.
I didn't even know you had a Discord.
Yeah.
So I'll do that.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Talk to you soon. Bad Robo says the problem is when you're younger, you had more time to play and practice. Not that suddenly you were 50 and can't play. I'm sorry, but I'm sure, yes, you're right to an extent. But there is a verifiable, physiologically provable physiological situation where your reflexes just get worse. I see it happening. I the first time I ever saw it happening was in that game Roller Drome. When I took the speed, and they dropped it down, they let me drop it down and suddenly I could play it. Whereas before I loved it, but I knew what I wanted to do and I couldn't process it fast enough. That's just a normal part of your brain getting older, man. No, I got past the Godskin duo. But it wasn't because I got good. It was because I finally understood the archaic, opaque bullshit of how sleep worked on them. Because I'm like, well, I'm coating my sword in sleep. Why isn't it not working? It's like, no, it has to be a sleep grenade. I'm like, well, how the fuck would I know that? This is what I'm talking about. Luke says 25 million people bought Elden Ring. They don't care if they lose a few people to difficulty. I know, Luke. No one's talking about that. Stop. This is that stuff I was talking about with the other guy, but people are so defensive and unable to process what people are talking about. I support Miyazaki's desire if he is willing to lose sales, be them millions or be them 5, because his vision is his vision. That's great. But that doesn't mean I don't get to complain about it. But of course they get to do what they want. No one's disagreeing with you. Anonymous Boss, you old knucklehead. Thank you for the super chat. He says, Jaffe in chat. I am not a conspiracy guy, he says, but I'm not even anything like that. But I have been hearing rumors. We will have problems with the so-called avian flu. What do you think? Well, I don't know if those are rumors. There's a number of cases, I think, that have already been documented here in America. And certainly if we allow it to get out of control and we're not prepared if it does get out of control, then yeah, we'll have a problem with it. What I'll tell you, man, is look, not that people didn't see this coming either, but I remember in December of 2019, I was doing this show, and one of our stories on the weird segments was about the mobile crematoriums that were driving all around China and collecting bodies and burning them because they didn't actually have the ability to cart all these bodies that were dying. And I was like, oh shit, this is really, really bad. And a few people were saying it was really, really bad, but most people were like, nah, it's nothing. And we know what happened. So, yeah, you may be right. I mean, we clearly were not prepared for that pandemic. And maybe we got another one coming down the road. I have no idea. I appreciate the super chat though, buddy. Thank you very, very much. Eddie T says, I remember a lunch with Jaffe stream when January 6th was happening. Were we doing that? I believe you. I believe it. I didn't know January 6th. It took me a few days to process just what I was seeing. I'm like, oh, it's a riot. And I'm like, wait a minute. All right. We're going to move on to some news stories, but let me get Steve and Adam in real quick first. Steve, it's Jaffe. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just want to say I'm a big fan. I was introduced to you through LSM and all those guys.
Oh, yeah. They're good people.
Yes.
Well, except one of them, but I'm not telling you the one I hate. No, they're all good. They're all good.
Right on. I've always appreciated that you bring a different perspective and you kind of shake things up, especially with Colin kind of pushing him into maybe his outside of his comfort zone, which I think he welcomes. So
yeah, I love talking to Colin. Colin wrote me today and said, I'm seeing this shit online, Jaffe, where you're talking about the Sony people needing to figure out how they're going to recover or counter the Xbox show. And I'm just, so, I'm just like, dude, I've already said this on your show a million times. Nothing's changed, So I love talking games, and then he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Right on. Yeah, no, I've been listening to your conversation about difficulty in Elden Ring, and I like it because I feel like you're taking a very specific perspective on the conversation around difficulty in games. I do understand that a lot of people are kind of missing your point, where it's like you respect that if they don't want to put a slider in, respect the artist. I like that too, but also understanding that not everybody's having the same experience. You wouldn't expect. I mean,
that in itself would be a great question for an artist that doesn't want to put a slider in, right? Which is to say, okay, so if you don't want to put a slider in Elden Ring, Miyazaki, then what is your vision? Because if your vision is, I want everybody to have the same challenge, then especially if it was a dynamic slider, that would get you closer to your vision. By not putting the slider in, what you're really saying is you want a game that most people feel they can't achieve, and when they achieve it, that's the feeling you want, which is totally fine. But I would love someone to ask him that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So when I think about difficulty specifically with From Software games, Elden Ring was really my first moment where it clicked. I had that experience that a lot of people have of you just keep dying to the same boss, and then you kind of you give up, you let it go, you kind of let it humble you, and then you have this overwhelming sense of relief of just accepting the grind. But people say that like the what they really tweaked in that game was what you were discussing earlier in being able to avoid the conflict right in front of you.
Yeah, Elden Ring, you go do other stuff. It was brilliant in that way. It was, even though, I mean, Bloodborne had some other things you could do and you could go grind and stuff. Elden Ring genuinely had so much content that when you were struggling, you could go off and have a great time and sometimes forget what you were struggling with.
Yeah, I love that about it. And so in my head, I kind of put Elden Ring on this one side of the From Software spectrum where it's like, it's okay to avoid what's right in front of you. You can find a cheesy build. You can play co-op. You can make it work for you. Whereas some people in that scene that maybe get good mentality, a lot of them trend towards loving Sekiro. And what they like about it is the game demands you play in a very particular play style. There's not really as much like, oh, you can go find some cheesy build. It's like, no, you play the game the way the game wants you to play it. And I think that's Elden Ring lets you express yourself in so many different ways, where I don't know if you saw, there was a big deal over, I think his name's Kai Cenat playing Elden Ring.
I don't know who he is.
I don't know him either.
But I've seen him. Yeah. Isn't he the guy with Kevin Hart doing sleepovers, or that's a different guy?
Yeah. All I know is he played the game, and the first boss, the tree sentinel guy or whatever, that you're supposed to just avoid, right? They just put him in to be a cheesy boss. I think he sat there and he played it, and he just got really good by playing that boss over and over and over again, which is like, and so it's like Elden Ring kind of expands the, like, how you can play that game in so many different ways. He got really good. He physically got really good at playing the game by having a shitty character, but playing this boss over and over again. Whereas me, it's like, this is my first time playing a From Software game. I'm looking up all the guides. I'm playing with friends. I get all the armor and stuff. And I think that's probably why it became such a phenomenon. Whereas, Sekiro or Dark Souls or whatever, it's pushing you in a certain direction. And
again, what bothers me is just first off, I can't tell who's trolling and not, right? That's a real challenge with this community.
Right.
Like Zack in the chat says, nonstop excuses, just learn the game. Well, I don't know if he's trolling or not, right? But let's assume for the moment he's not, because there are people that would say that are not trolling. And it's like I know I'm not, Abraham Lincoln when it comes to, expressing myself with language, but I'm not terrible at it. I think I've made myself clear, and it's like, are they just dumb? It's like, I'm not saying.
I think that there's like how like rappers are known for like flossing and like selling cool and things like that. I think that there's clout that comes with being.
But that's kind of like saying you have clout because you're really good at, I don't know, knitting. I mean, who gives it? Wow, you're good at a video game. Who sold you the bill of goods that being good at a video game relates to clout in any way, shape, or form?
Other things going on, man. Right? Like some people, you get that. If someone's really desperate to feel like they're better than someone else, they're going to put all their stock in how good they are at Dark Souls. But
but they should put all their stock in therapy is what they should be doing, because that's some crazy bullshit, man. Yeah. All right, I appreciate it, Steve. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Yep.
All right, let me grab this call, then I'll bring in Blue real quick, or grab this super chat. Gamesley says, Jaffe, I love the difficulty talk. I love your difficulty talk. I am disabled gamer and content creator. I'd love to speak about this. How do I get in here? Meaning you want to be on camera? Oh, all you do, my good friend, is you click this button or this link I just put up down below, and you can bring yourself on in. Okay. Fuck you, Eric. I will fucking murder you. Okay. No, it's not Vitaphone. It's not. Vitaphone says it's muscle memory, drills, patience to play the game the way it wants, not the way you want to. Drills will get you good. All of that's true, but you're still missing my point, and you're a smart guy. Come on, that's not my point. It's not my point. All right, what's up, Adam?
Hey, what's going on?
Ouch.
No, cool discussion here. Because I remember with the Souls games at first, Demon Souls was like too hard. I just my youngest was first born, and it's like there's no way I can pause and do what I need to do. But I think what happened was that game had such good mechanics. Like anyone could look at the game no matter how hard it is and be like, that's a good game. And I think, that seeped through, through outlets. So over time, the Souls games, because of that, is what got it so popular that despite how hard it is, it's like people like kind of appreciate it and probably, don't beat it. But shout out to Chris, Volgar, because
I'm going to talk to him in a second. Absolutely.
Speaking of hard games, like the Volgar, amazing. Like I love that like 2D throwback stuff. And then
did you see the sequel? Yeah.
But
I was hoping there'd be a demo on Next Fest. Thanks for nothing, Chris. Yeah. You fucking lazy bum.
See, that's the thing. So with Summer Games Fest, like all these games got announced that are so awesome, like so many cool games to play that I know there's no way I'm not going to be able to play all these, even the demos. No. So that's another thing when it comes to these games. Sometimes if they're hard, or sometimes I'm like, you know what? I really don't need to finish this just to finish it. I think I've had my experience, my fill. And lately I've been able to break free of it. And it feels so good where I don't need to play this anymore. I can move on. And sometimes a year or two later, I'll be like, you know what? This is on Game Pass now. I'll just fire it up and then beat it. You know, a game maybe like Immortals is one that like 2 years later I beat the last boss. That's what I was at. And that feels good sometimes to
it does. And honestly, that's how you know it's a game you love, right? So there are games I quit all the time, even though I enjoyed them. I always go back to Elden Ring until I finish it. I always go back to Dave the Diver, which I haven't finished, which is not a hard game. It's a wonderful game. There's a lot to play and there's a lot to do, you know. Whereas certain games that I delete, you know, I'm never going to go back to Suicide Squad, even though I did enjoy it. I liked it and I got to the final boss, couldn't beat him, deleted it. Totally okay if I'll never go back to it. I get it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm with you. The ability to kind of let go and go, I get it. I've got the gist. Because to be perfectly fair, most games are longer than they fucking need to be.
Yeah.
They're not designed with the experience in mind as much as they are designed with we have to be able to justify our price point, which is any business model. But that said, I think games suffer mightily for it because you get all this bloat, which is really not necessary in a lot of games. So.
I know. And one more thing, real quick about the reflex thing, because I've noticed as I may not appear, but as I've gotten older, like working out is so much harder. Like I have to do double the workout. And I've realized that's the same thing with when I'm playing a video game. Like I have to spend more time repeating the same thing over and over in order to like really fully grasp it. I've figured that out recently. I've been replaying the like Game Boy Advance Castlevania games, and I've realized I'm muscle memorizing after so long. I'm able to face these bosses a lot easier, and it's telling myself, okay, I just need to spend more time. And then it clicks.
What is this working out thing you're talking about? What is that?
So for instance, I'm 40. When I was 36, I ran 5 miles a day every morning for like 6 months to lose like 30 something pounds. And I did it and it was awesome. I gained weight since then. And since I'm 40, like I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do that again. And I ended up hurting my back where I couldn't walk for a week.
You run and no one's chasing you? I don't know what you live in a world that I don't understand. I have Ozempic though.
Hey,
anyway, the point is, Adam, I'm coming on your show pretty soon, right? Aren't we doing something?
So this is the audition. So
no, you don't need an audition. I have ADD and I forget a lot of things. I think, when are we doing it? Wednesday or next
Wednesday? Yeah, 3 California time.
Is that next week or tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday. No, today's Wednesday.
Next week.
We'll do it next week, 3:00. Is it a live show?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll just be simple, easy. It'll be awesome and enlightening.
Excellent. I'll be there. Hit me up and remind me though, because I have ADD.
Okay. All
right. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
All right. No, Chris is on the show right now. Well, he says he'll come on, which I want to bring him on. But Chris, I'm not even going to pretend to say his last name, is the developer of the wonderful Volgar game. And he just announced Volgar 2 is coming out. I don't know if you guys dropped a date for it, but he says every game doesn't have to be for everyone. It's weird people feel like they should be. Again, though, I'm not saying it has to be for everyone. Like let's ask Chris, fellas. Okay, let's fucking ask Chris this question. He's a developer. Volgar the Viking, if you haven't played it, it's wonderful. I think it's pretty much on every system now, so you should go get it. Very, very difficult game. Very, very hard game. And that was the intention, I believe, of Chris when he made this game. He wanted to make a very challenging, precision-based hack and slash side scroller. So my question is, Chris, assuming that is a correct assessment, that was your goal. I assume that if a 55-year-old man who never played video games in his life and a 20-year-old college kid that was obsessed with games, I assume you would want both of those people to sit down and play Volgar and have the same experience, not the same identical things on the TV screen, but you would want the 55-year-old and the 20-year-old both to experience your vision of, oh my God, this game is so fucking hard, but it's hard because I have to learn it. And when I learn it, it feels great. Am I correct, Chris, in that is the goal? And if that is the goal, then wouldn't you want your game to be able to give each player your vision through dynamic difficulty, for example, if dynamic difficulty was where it needs to be, which it's not there yet, would be my question. Turtle is not banned from the show, by the way, while we're waiting for Chris's response. Turtle is not banned from the show. Turtle, I saw some words that were very hate speechy that I did not know he used and trafficked in on his Twitter. And on the Discord, I said, look, you know, I'm not just going to be like, you're off the show because I saw something you tweeted. But I want to be clear, is what I said to him, that it's like, if that becomes if I see that ever again, for better or for worse, whether you like being on the show, whether it's good or bad for the show is irrelevant. I can't work with you on that stuff because it's okay to have different opinions and it's okay to be a maverick in your views, but I'm not going to sort of bring people on that are expressing themselves in ways that I think are hurtful to other people. And so he's not banned. Jaffe, can you imagine a situation in which a 60-year-old is better at a game than a 20-year-old? Yes, I can, but they're rare. Okay? You should be able to go see a movie and love the movie and get the movie no matter the age. Same with video games. So, yeah, but Volgar was static. But I'm assuming, though, the goal is you wanted people to have... Now, maybe I'm wrong. But that's what I would say. But I'm looking for his chat. I haven't seen it yet. Steve Hawkins, thank you so much. Member for 26 months, man. Thanks for that, buddy. I appreciate it. He says, I'm more of a retro gamer, but I am not a fan of modern games being like Battletoads, aka fuck this game. Difficulty should adapt to the player. It should, and we're not there yet necessarily. I know it can, but I think ultimately with AI, it's going to get so good that this is going to be one of those conversations that's funny people even had. Because what a lot of people in the chat are advocating for is I don't think what they really think they're saying. And I know that that's arrogant and obnoxious to act as if I know what they're saying, but they don't. But I still think I know what they're saying and they don't. Because frankly, you have to we're going to move on, I promise, after this, but you've got to put yourself in a situation where if you're going to create something, and you say, well, why did you create it that way? Where people would have vastly different experiences based on their skill set. Versus, would you have rather created it that everybody got what you wanted them to get? Who would choose the latter unless you were doing some weird performance art piece? Or the former? You would choose the latter. You would say, oh, yeah, no, if the game could do that, I want everybody to have the same sense of achievement and challenge and struggle that, the biggest fan of Elden Ring has. That's what I would say. All right. If you're looking for the word he used, to use the F word for homosexual folks. And I'm not a place where you can do that. We have, even if we didn't have gay people who watch the show, I'm here for thought and concepts and debate and discussion, but no, get over it, man. It's cruel. Chris says, I wrote a big article on this very topic that will be coming out soon. I did include accessibility options in Volgar 2, but also made them 100% optional, while also making things harder for those that want it. Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, if you're still down for coming on the show, I'll reach out to you tomorrow and let's schedule it. I'd love to have this conversation live, Chris, if you're down for it. That would be excellent. Okay. 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 Let's move forward. Let's move on, shall we? Okay. I think it's time. All right. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Addy Pie, I'm not even going to get into it with you, buddy. I'm just not. Okay, let's move on. Guys, I don't care. Go watch P. Turtle's show. You're not going to convince me. I don't like speech that harms people and hurts people's feelings. You can say, I don't mind if you come on the show and you say, my religion is against homosexuality, and this is why. We can have that discussion. I won't agree with you, but we can have that discussion. But you're not going to come on this show, and I'm not going to let people come on this show and express things that have been clearly harmful to other people's feelings. So go fucking watch P Turtle if you want. I don't give a shit. If the only way I can make this show work is to only entertain the people that are okay or want the F word, the N word used, I don't want your business. I don't want your clicks. Good God almighty. I don't care if you get it. He didn't express it on your show. I don't get it, says Tim. Great. It's my show. Go do your show. I don't want people to know that I am giving a platform, such as it is, small or big, medium or large, to people who are out there harming other people because of these words. I don't give a fuck if you agree. That's what's great about life. We don't have to agree to be pals. We can disagree, but what I'm not going to do is act like you have a point that I should just listen to because you're saying you don't have a problem with it. Then go to your own fucking stream. What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, buddy. How are you, Jaffe? My
Well, you know how it goes on this fucking show.
Yeah, me too.
It always degrades into this shit. What I'm trying to get better at it though. So what do you want to talk about? What's going on? Oh wait, I can't hear you. You went mute. I heard him for a second though. Yep. No worries. Yeah, the only difference, Robertson, is what I wouldn't do is just because P Turtle used it once, I was like, well, I'm not going to be this guy who's like, oh, you're off. I'm like, no, I'm going to make it clear this is what I feel. And if he does it again, then yeah, I'm like, yeah, no. But I think everybody deserves a chance to express themselves and be willing to kind of take the consequences such as they are. And if you care, great. But I definitely think people jump the gun more than they should. All right, what's going on, Gamesley?
What the hell is going on here? How are you, Jaffe?
I am very good. How are you, sir?
Okay, not so good. You know, I lost some
Why? What
fingers.
happened?
No,
Well, how long ago? I mean,
very
you seem
long
like
ago.
you've adjusted.
Since birth. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. What happened? You lost them? Like they're still in
No,
your
no, I
mama's
didn't.
womb?
Yeah, a little bit.
Or you
Well,
just
my
weren't,
brother
you
tried.
just weren't born with them?
Yeah, I just wasn't born with them.
Oh, okay.
Done.
Okay.
It's, you know what it was? It was those pregnant women used to take. I forgot what the medicine was or what the pills were, but they used to take some sort of pill before pregnancy in the late 70s. I don't know what it was.
Cocaine? Cocaine.
Yes, cocaine. Yeah, they
Oh, yeah.
smashed it up, and that's he fucked me. But anyways, point is,
But hey, that night at Studio 54 was worth it.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
what's up? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk. I just want to talk about difficulties in game. I think I'm good to talk about that. Let's talk about difficulty in games. So catch
Okay.
me up on all this like Dark Souls and Elden Ring talk.
Well, I mean, you
what's going
know,
on?
you play the. I mean, I don't know what you can play with your disability, but you do play games.
Everything.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I've
then.
adapted, yeah.
Okay, so then Dark Souls and that whole series of games from Software, you know, is historically been intentionally a real challenging set of games, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people get upset in that community, and I consider myself part of that community. I fucking adore those games, but they get upset when anybody brings up the idea of, hey, let's add a difficulty slider or whatever. And all I've been saying is just, hey, the vision of the creator should rule, but they're wrong when they think that if the vision of the creator is, I want to make a challenging game, that a difficulty slider hurts that vision. That difficulty slider, if it's tuned properly, helps that vision. Because everybody's sense of what challenging is, almost to the point that you quit, but then you overcome and you feel great, everybody's limit is different. So you either want them to have the same vision from Miyazaki, or you want it to be, everyone's going to experience it different, but for most people it's going to be too hard and they're going to give up. And like I was saying, I'd support that as if it's his vision, but I don't think that's his vision. And I think these guys in the chat and guys online talking about this shit act as if they're like somehow gatekeeping his vision, where it's like, it's supposed to be like this. It's like, no, I don't know if Miyazaki could snap his fingers and say, I want everyone to have the same sense of challenge based on their skill level. I don't think he would not snap his fingers. That's all we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear when they made Elden Ring, right? Because it's vastly different. It's so like they gave you almost this baked in, well, not baked in, but they gave you the illusion. They have this illusion with the summons and all that stuff like that. That's kind of their difficulty slider. It's like, oh,
Right.
we're not gonna say it, but here's a thing that makes this whole thing so much fucking easier. Not to upset the fans that are talking right now that are just
Well,
I mean,
but
fucking
even
nonsense,
that though, see,
but-
I again, I'm not saying I want the game to be easier. Like I assume with your disability that I mean maybe not, maybe you're a savant, but I assume it's if you sat down with a pro Street Fighter player, you probably wouldn't have as good of a chance as someone who sat down at the same skill level simply because of your disability. That may be wrong. Is that an incorrect read?
No, that's probably very right. Yeah.
Okay, so the same thing applies here, which is whether your quote disability, although in your case I'm not saying it's quote, but in my case, I'm older, right? So my brain doesn't respond as fast as it used to, as some 20-year-olds, right? Or yours, you look a lot younger than I am. Well, doesn't Miyazaki still want me to have the same experience that somebody who's 20 is going to have? The
Yeah, that's-
20-year-old, or these guys act as if the minute the experience shifts, the vision is being ruined. And it's like, no, if the vision shifts to give everybody the same experience, you're actually emboldening and supporting the vision. But
Yeah. Well, that's why I hopped on here. Just it's quite simple. It's like the vision already shifted. That's what Elden Ring is. The vision did shift. the vision expanded. The level design changed. The mechanics that they give you changed. I mean, Elden Ring is that changed product, is it not?
Well, I mean, it is, but even with that, it's almost irrelevant. Even if you're talking about the new Princess Peach game on Switch, which is clearly made for really basic kids or whatever. Not basic kids, but it's a basic game that's kind of made for families and kids and all that stuff.
How dare you, sir?
Right. I'm just saying that is the vision of the game. And so every, player is going to be different with what they come to the table with in terms of experience, skill, reflexes, physical, psychological disabilities. But ideally the game from Nintendo would go, yes, but we want to give everybody the same experience. Why
don't you think counter? I just want to spin it a little bit. Why don't you think he actually hasn't come out and actually said the thing, right?
Well, I don't know him, and I think there's a few reasons maybe why he wouldn't. Part of it is probably because there is a very passionate, lucrative fan base that that he doesn't want to piss off.
Right.
And frankly, the people who are probably going to set Elden Ring to easy are probably not big enough to risk that. But the other part is, I do think they've said that, hey, we've made changes in Elden Ring because we wanted people to have different ways to solve things. And he also talked about this story where he was changing a tire once and somebody came and helped him. And that's where he got the idea for let me make a game that's really hard, but part of Alexa, stop. But part of the fun of it, oh my God, Alexa, stop. Part of the fun of it is that he's baked that into the product, which is it's about reaching out and working with other people. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's absolutely excellent. And I think Elden Ring probably does that better than any other game. But I still think, though, the game is fundamentally, when you start fighting certain bosses and you don't have the reflexes, it's real fucking, it's harder for me. My challenge is harder than, let's say, somebody in the chat who's beaten and platinumed it. And that's what I'm saying. That's not okay. It's okay if that's his vision, but
do you think, sorry to cut you off. Do you think that, let's say if you reach back in time and you touch, I don't know, Mega Man, do you think that they would change Mega Man as it was? Do you think that hardcore Mega Man game would be changed in a realistic, in this society, in this environment?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, I don't think it has to be. And a lot of indie games choose to still embrace, like Volgar. Volgar is a very difficult game, but it's, but and it probably, I'll talk to Chris when he's on about it, because it came out at such a particular time that maybe monetarily that was the right call. Whereas I think now, because there's so many retro hard games, and Volgar was really one of the vanguard of that. Now I do think it makes less sense because you want to get more people playing, and I think it was probably too punishing for a lot of people. And but yeah,
do you think it was well, to that thing, what I'm trying to do is, in hindsight, we look at like the past Souls games and kind of disregard, like we put aside the Elden Ring and grab what he says. Like maybe it's just super simple. Maybe literally he didn't see like he didn't see what this would be, kind of like Mega Man, where it's just like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know how, I don't know.
Are we overcomplicating it a little bit?
Well, no, I mean, I think he knows by the time he's at Elden Ring, he knows, where his bread is buttered. He knows what kind of things he's doing.
Right, and that's why it's changed, right?
At the beginning. But look, what I'll say though on the older games is we don't, did Eugene Jarvis, when he made Defender, did he make it so fucking hard because it was a vision, or was it like us with Twisted Metal Black? Everybody says Twisted Metal Black's really hard. It was never meant to be punishingly hard. It was hard because we didn't have enough experience to know that we can't tune the game for ourselves. So we would sit there. I remember spending a week out in Utah with the programmers, sitting there with Mike Badger, and we were putting, missiles at 12 hit points and fire missiles at 8 and power missiles at 25 and changing the speed and all this. And we walked away after a week and said, we did it. That's really fun. But if we would have known that the completion rate of that game would have been as low as it was, because most people experienced it hard, but we experienced it as normal because we had been playing the game and it had been baked into our muscle memories for the last 2 years. That's where I think a lot of these older games are hard. Some of it's intentional because you want to drag out the play length, but a lot of it's hard because like Mickey Mania wasn't designed to be hard. Mickey Mania is disturbingly hard.
Exactly.
Not because we wanted it to be, just because we're like, well, we didn't think about it. We're just like,
yeah,
it works for us.
And that's why I wanted to kind of say that. It's not to say it directly to you, but like to most audiences, right? When they hear that conversation, like what you just pointed out about your own game and so on and so on. Maybe that's the nuance missing. It's just like, guys, audience that's super hardcore about not wanting other people like me to play it as easy as you. These creators might not come out and say it, but you just heard Jaffe say, sometimes it's not meant to be a thing, and then it becomes a thing. But then again, when you get to Elden Ring, you did learn something. You don't want to anger the core fan base, so you kind of don't say shit. But let's face it, the summons, the design of the world, how everything comes, they're addressing it without addressing it fully.
Yeah,
but they don't want to upset and be a bitch about it.
But even if they don't address it, what these guys don't get though, the bigger thing, I agree with all that you said, but even sitting above that, which bothers me about a lot of the gamers that they don't get, is I don't want the vision fucked, but they don't understand their vision. But maybe not.
Yeah.
You playing goddamn Bloodborne final boss is not, no matter how good you are, because of your disability or my mental disability, it's not going to give us the same experience that some guy who's complaining on the internet about difficulty. We want the same experience. We don't want to just watch the story. We don't want it to be easy. But for us, your easy is our challenging. So back the fuck off. It pisses me off because it's just so ignorant.
Yeah, that's why I tried to say it in a different way, like kind of dissect it by conversation to kind of get real talk from even a developer like yourself, right? Sometimes like we're not as brilliant as we seem, and the whole discussion over it is tiring. Like it doesn't do any, like these companies, they're not like preserving the fan base and standing on their ground and saying, this is the painting that I always wanted to paint. They're not saying it because they don't want to upset you.
Yeah.
And they just,
Yeah.
and they do at the end of the day want more people to play.
They do.
So stop fucking being like this.
That's right. I agree 100%.
People like us do exist. So
Yeah, well, and
I
they're
adapted. I adapted.
That's right.
I've
That's right.
adapted, but it's more like abuse. than
No,
adapted.
and what-
it's
and
like
what
just
you-
going like this to those people, you know.
Well,
It's
and what
like
you
weird.
should say to those people too, because a lot of them are kind of like, it's like, oh well, this is what I have. I'm good at games. It's like, yeah, I get it, but then go out and do the shit you're not good at, that you're not wired
Yeah.
to do.
It's like
And it's like, you know, if I'm going to create something and I want it to be a business, you know, it doesn't mean that you're obligated to make the most money you can unless you work at a public company. But it just, I don't know. It just
In the
seems
chat,
childish.
in the chat, okay, it's like basic stuff like ramps for wheelchairs and stuff like that, okay.
It's like, get
It's
good.
like
Get
yeah,
good,
those
walk
guys
up the
can
steps.
yeah, those guys can get out of the wheelchair
Yeah.
and go by hand.
They-
And
yes.
it's like okay, they're gonna do it by hand, and it's like you guys are looking at that and just not helping, right?
Yeah.
And it's like yeah, we can do it, dumbass, but the point is it's not fucking proper.
And more importantly, though,
Just saying.
if you could do it, right? The guy who can walk up the stairs who has fully functioning legs, his experience walking up the stairs
Yeah.
is not the experience walking up the stairs by crawling up the stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing that's similar is you both made it up the stairs, but don't act like now that you made it up the stairs, you get what the stair builder wanted you to experience. No, you didn't.
Not at
Fucking
all.
moron.
No, no. That's what I
Anyway.
love.
All
Yeah,
right,
so
games. Thanks,
that's
buddy.
all I
I'll talk
got.
to you later. All right.
No
see ya.
problem. Thank you.
All right. All right. Here is my old pal CR3D. What's up, man?
Oh, nothing much. So I just have a question for you about this.
Yes.
Okay, so just given how complicated games have become now, because it's like we're not in the 8 or 16-bit era anymore. If you create a bunch of difficulty sliders, I mean, you can go that way. But I think when you're developing like incredibly intelligent AI that's like, you know, say a first-person shooter, they're aware of the environment, they're aware of like how much you're kicking their guys' asses, you know, like there's all these just like crazy amount of parameters and scripts going on. How are you going to somehow change that without putting in like a ton more time to like create a new version of like maybe this AI is the same, but they're kind of a little bit dumber? I mean, that's going to be a whole new code.
Well, first off, I mean, we're I'm sorry, I got a gnat flying around. First off, we're talking about it at a philosophical level in terms of how it actually gets achieved. My guess would be that if you're also, you might want to mute yourself when you're not talking because there's a lot of squawking in the background. My guess would be that what you would do would be something like say to Ace, what? Settle down. You could somehow communicate to the AI or to the system and say, these are the areas of difficulty. This is kind of how I want it to feel for everybody. And you probably mess around with a handful of parameters that baked in to the beginning of development are what create those experiences. And then those sliders kind of exist as a, you know, as sort of the way that you tune it for everybody based on what the AI is watching, how many times you die, how many times, you know, you have these 25 situations in these kinds of rooms. Oh, he's always running out of ammo. Now, if the developer like Resident Evil is like, that's good, we want you to run out of ammo because we want to teach you the value of the scarcity of the ammunition, then the AI should be going, okay, we want to make sure that occurs for the player the right percentage of times. So everybody has that feeling would be what it would be. So I think it's totally solvable. but I definitely think you're going to have to, it's going to have to be built in from the beginning. But frankly, look, as one of the things that holds games back from being even bigger and why it's become so difficult lately to make AAA work financially is because, as Sean Layden has said for 8-9 years now, there's that ceiling where you can't get more than 300 million people who actually want to play games other than Candy Crush. And part of it is because they're too intimidating. So it may be some work to figure it out, but I think out of all the things we're trying to figure out in game design, that's a real important one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that to an extent because I mean, my mom actually was a huge gamer back to like NES. Like she used to play like Castlevania all the time, just sit there and like smoke cigarettes and like play Castlevania. So I agree with that, like because that's one of the main reasons she doesn't play games anymore. She's just like, yeah, it's way too complicated. So she's not a gamer anymore. But and I see your point with like if we get AI that's sophisticated enough to where it can make those decisions that are actually going to work. But I'm talking about more like the reason why like Miyazaki, like why I love him so much as a developer, because it's like he's more like old school. He's like, well, this boss is really difficult, or sorry, not really difficult, really challenging, but not really difficult. So it's because like you never know, like in Elden Ring, you can be like whatever level, and if you're just good enough, you can beat like almost any boss. Like if you know how to like work the system, if you know how to play the game, you don't even have to grind in that game. And I think that's expert design is what that is. Like you could always like bull rush it with like higher HP, higher damage, out like DPS or whatever, but a great designer, I think, like you shouldn't have to rely on those things. And I think a lot of this, a lot of these games where
the challenge with what you're saying though is that you're assuming that, maybe if you're a great designer that has educated all the players to understand the systems that you're describing, and then once they understand them, then I think you're right. But I think part of it is, and that's one of the reasons I think Bloodborne is so challenging to a lot of people, that if you play Bloodborne and you're not getting help, if you remember that game, you walk into that kind of area outside that castle with the doll and the statues and shit, and you're just like, what the fuck is this? It's like you don't even know what to do to advance the game, not because it's hard, but because it's like the way it communicates what it needs you to do is just, it's very opaque. And in that, it turns off a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, I think if the designer can make it clear, this is how you play the game and these are the rule sets, then yeah, you can make it very clear. These are the 5 things that I want you to get good at, or I want you to focus on. But even getting good at still needs to be something the AI adjusts in real time if possible.
Okay, so now we're talking about onboarding versus difficulty.
Well, we're talking about the gamer's experience. If that can be improved by quality onboarding, great.
Sure. Okay. We're just talking about the player's experience. Then, I I agree. Miyazaki is pretty he's pretty opaque when it comes to like what you're supposed to do. Like I literally like had to like look up stuff to figure out like how the weapons, like how they scale.
Yeah,
because
I still don't fully understand it, but yes, you're right.
Well, it's really simple when
well, you don't have to explain it. I'm just saying it's
just letter grades really, but yeah, and I agree with that. And Miyazaki's got a problem with that, and he's always done that. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if he's not aware of it. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to talk to the guy, but I still think that there's something that we can take from 8-bit, 16-bit era, and we should really hold on to that. And that is that like those things were expertly designed in a certain way that
maybe
taught the play. Well, okay, look at Mega Man X, for instance. Like the very beginning of that level, it teaches you everything you're ever going to need to know. And so maybe Miyazaki needs to do more like that, like teach and tutorialize through gameplay.
I mean, sure, that would be better. But I'm just saying that I do think we romanticize the older arcade games and NES games and go, they were so fucking hard. It's like, well, part of it is because a lot of developers didn't know what they were doing. Like our games were hard, it wasn't intentional. The first game I ever made that I was like, you know what, I really want to make sure everybody finishes this that wants to, was God of War in 2005, and I was obsessed with making sure that It was tuned in a way that the most people could enjoy it, but still have a fun challenge that wanted it, could have it. But before that, I had never even thought about that. So I'm sure I'm not the only one. But I think another part of it is like, you know, the games didn't have as much content and they had to last a lot longer. And you were also younger, right? The idea of your experience of a game when you were 9 playing all summer long is probably not best used to make a map for where you want to go in 2024, given that there was so much romanticizing now and so much I'm a little kid with all the time on my hands and great reflexes then, that I'm not entirely sure how helpful that frame of reference would be.
I mean, every single 8-bit, 16-bit game, because like I just recently played Mega Man on that game's bullshit. That game is so bullshit hard. That's just poor design.
Yeah.
But the second one, it's like, wow, they actually learned. Like, it's actually a fun game. It's actually fair.
Well, I'll give it a play. I've been meaning to go back and play some of those because I never really got into Mega Man. But
yeah. All right. Good
all
talking.
right, buddy. Thanks, man. Hey, Torque, I'm not going to bring you back in because we already talked. Just hit me up. Well, let me see what he needs real quick and make sure. What's up?
Hey, actually, I was trying to talk with CRD 3D as well because I wanted to talk about this current. So first thing I wanted to say is arcade games absolutely were designed to be hard because you were paying money to continue playing. So they wanted it to be hard, not only to increase.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about like 82
but also
on,
monetization.
because you have to understand that but it wasn't immediate where you could put another quarter in to keep playing. Like you die in Pac-Man and it's over.
Right.
There was no continue for a quarter. And when I saw that for the first time with Gauntlet, I was like, what the fuck is this? My health is just dropping for no reason. It's like, well, you got to put another quarter in.
That's probably because you're a decade older than me too.
That's right.
So you saw
that's right. But even then, though, even when it was just a quarter, they still wanted them to be challenging. They wanted you to turn over. But that was the magic, right? You wanted it to be easy enough that you felt like giving it another quarter, it would allow you to progress because you had gotten better and the game wasn't unfair. Whereas I think the games that tuned it wrong, like even though I know Defender is a classic, Defender is so fucking difficult with all the buttons and the difficulty that I think, you know, they probably left a lot of money on the table with that game because it was just like, dude, are you shitting me with this fucking game? But
absolutely. The other thing I wanted to point out though, because it sounds like you don't actually have programming experience. You were mostly
only basic, which is not really anything.
To CR3D's previous point where he was saying like it would take a lot of extra time and effort in order. It actually wouldn't. Every game. When they're programming it, they use what's called variables, and it just means it's a number that's going to fluctuate and won't always necessarily be the same.
Yeah.
So all they do is you multiply it by a certain multiplier. So, you know, at level 1, it could be a 1 times multiplier. At level 10, it could be.
Well, yeah, but the hard part though, as somebody who does have experience scaling difficulty for easy, medium, and hard, is that. Sometimes the work isn't actually the planning, because it's what a lot of games, including games I've worked on, did when we had a hard mode was exactly what you said. It's like, okay, missiles get a multiplier, or if it's a hard mode, your weapons do 25% less damage. The enemies do this, you know. But ultimately, though, that really isn't. You need a much more nuanced in a plan at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that the player, because like Eddie Torres says, I would be offended if a game became easier if I was struggling. That's not what you want. You want the game to adjust so that you still feel like you're struggling. And you still have that sense of success.
Struggling to an overwhelming sense where it's like, fuck this, I don't even want to play anymore.
My struggle makes me walk away if it's at that level. His makes him say, I felt like I overcame a challenge. And that's ultimately what we're talking about, which is we both want to have the same struggle.
And I think ultimately it shouldn't be something that happens automatically, because I've had games where you're struggling and they prompt you, hey, we noticed that you've been dying a lot. Do you want to lower the difficulty?
Terrible.
And I'm like, fuck no, I want to play this on harder.
That's
if you've got control over it, if it, you know, says, hey, I've noticed you're struggling. Do you want help? And you say, yeah, actually, I would like some help.
You
And
should
can,
never have that. The game should
Yeah,
never
well-
be so hard
yeah.
that it gives you that prompt, because that prompt exists because the game hasn't done a good enough job adjusting difficulty dynamically.
But as you say, like, why should it be adjusting dynamically? Because if you're
I'm saying, and the end result should be games that adjust dynamically so everybody gets the same level of challenge.
So I disagree in the sense that if it's adjusting dynamically, it means it's happening without your knowledge. It's behind the scenes. It's looking at your behavior and assuming that you want it to be easier. And that's not necessarily going to be a good thing. That's actually going to piss more people off. Whereas we're
talking. We're talking my vision for it. And I think most people that support dynamic difficulty, where we want it to go, is that you would not even be aware of it. So
I think that would be worse though, because
because
in the context where I've been playing a game and it asked if I wanted to, and I didn't want it to adjust. Well, now imagine that it's doing it dynamically. It sees that I'm failing. It assumes that I want it to be easier.
But
now I'm forced to play it easier, and it's less fun, and you're no longer struggling for that challenge.
I get it. What I'm saying is that I'm talking about AI that is able to recognize what is fun for each individual player. So so at the beginning of development, if you say, okay, we need to find a way for the AI to recognize the players that really like the sense of overcoming a challenge beyond what we feel is the norm. Okay. And because we've done these 28 checks, we've identified correctly, hopefully, if it works, that kind of player. Okay, so then we need to know his breaking point or her breaking point is very different than this guy's breaking point. And so again, I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight, but the fact that we can go to AI right now and say, here's a 200-page college thesis. Can you now rewrite it so it reads more clearly at a fifth grade level? It's not perfect, but we're getting there, right?
I agree that if you're implementing a system like that, that's way more robust than
I'm not saying you can do it. You can do it today, but you can start laying the bricks today.
Yeah, no, for sure. I also just think that games, even today, not using an AI algorithm that's detecting, because you'd probably have to play through like a tutorial mission or whatever in order for the AI to get a sense of what kind of a player you are. But yeah, I think if you even still with today's technology, I think if you have those sliders that you can manually tweak, it's the better alternative than not having any.
I mean, yes, unless it maybe creates a PR nightmare, like in the case of something like a Souls game, maybe the fans would just eat you alive. I don't know. I will tell you though that the game, and I haven't played it yet, but I heard Rise of the Ronin. And I was staying away from Rise of the Ronin because I was like, I like those guys, but their games are historically too hard. That has a difficulty meter. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I will also tell you that I believe it or not, I dropped Spider-Man 2 down from normal to easy.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it a lot more because it just got to the point where I'm just like, you know what? I know what I'm doing, but I'm kind of bored of just fighting wave after wave of these fucking henchmen. Let me just fucking make this quicker. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. Hit me up. I'll play your game soon. Thanks, buddy. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I was going to get to this, but you know what? We've been going for a few hours, and I think I'm going to wrap it up. So here's what I'll let you guys know. I will be back with a proper Gabbin' and Games this coming Friday. At 5:15, 5 o'clock, whatever. Tomorrow will be members only content. I'll be dropping a podcast tomorrow on that, talking about one of the worst days of working on Twisted Metal 2012. We'll be looking at some old PlayStation 1 games that seem to have been forgotten, as well as we'll probably be going over the press's responses to the best games they played at the Summer Game Fest. That will be... You're not in a waiting room. I don't see you, Nick. Where are you? If you're in a waiting room on Discord, that's not how we do it, Nick. Sorry, buddy. you gotta come in here. If you come in here, I'll bring you on real quick. But you got to click that link. We're not doing it through the Discord when we stream on this. But anyway, that will be tomorrow for members only, and then Friday's a normal show. And then Saturday at 5 o'clock is I Love the Weird, where we do a Saturday show all about aliens and monsters and weird brain experiments and all serial killers, all the weird fucking shit. That's coming up on Saturday for everybody as well. But tomorrow will be a podcast, not a live stream. It'll be dropping around 5:15. If you're a member, any tier, you can get that tomorrow. In the meantime, let's try to bring in this guy who's been waiting, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll go to the chat while we're waiting for him to come in. Who's got something to say? Counter-Strike has a 10-game requirement, grace period before they set your rank. Talking about difficulty, okay. If the rules of the game are different for everyone, then the game isn't fair. I'm not sure if you're talking about single player or not. If you're talking about multiplayer, it's very, very different. Well, again, Stephen Hawkins, tomorrow it's a podcast, or it's not a live stream. So just pick it up when it goes live in the afternoon or early evening. Nick, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else I can do, buddy. I put the link in there. Nick, click the link. You just super chatted? Why am I not seeing these? There it is. Okay. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Cantankerous. Did I get Stephen Hawking's too? Maybe I didn't. I'm more of a retro gamer, he says, but I am not a fan of modern games being like Battletoads. Oh, we did read that one. Okay. So Cantankerous says dynamic difficulty as a toggle. Harder if I'm good, easier if I'm me, or you can turn it off and just go. I think for now, and thank you for the super chat, buddy. I think for now, that's exactly where we are and we need to be. But I think ultimately, it shouldn't even be something that you have cognizance of, right? It should just work. You at least in a single player game. Again, I go back. Oh, Nick Wiley, you don't need to subscribe to chat, buddy. It's free. All you need to do is click the link, man. There's no subscription needed. But you go back to somebody like me who came up with Next Generation and the holodeck, and it's not like you go into the holodeck and it's like it's too hard. You don't. You just go into the holodeck and it gives you a great adventure. That's what you want. I'll try to click on the waiting room, but I don't think it's going to work because I don't have it set up. So you guys may not be able to hear anything. Nick, can you hear me? I can, but I don't know if the chat can. Are you guys able to hear Nick in the chat? Do a test, Nick. Say something. We'll say something else. Okay, Nick. Now I can't even hear Nick. Okay. All right, Nick. Well, we'll try it next time, buddy. Sorry, it's not going to work tonight. But yeah, the way it works though is if you call in here, there you go. There's Nick. All right, last call of the night. Nick, it's Jaffe. What's going on?
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep. What's up?
Hi. Yeah. So my opinion with the Souls games is I feel like you fundamentally misunderstand the appeal of them. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you have the option to make something easier, it's human nature to go with easier. So I remember I was like 16. It was a decade ago when I first played Bloodborne, and I've always played all my games from anywhere from medium to easy. And the fact that I didn't have an option to make something easier is what made Bloodborne so rewarding. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I was robbed when I played Elden Ring a couple years ago because I remember I was struggling with a couple of bosses and I had the option to do summons. There's so many options to make bosses easier. And I remember after I beat the bosses, I felt robbed. And so I feel like if you either through AI or through an in-game toggle give an option to make something easier, you will feel like you're robbed after you beat it. So,
well, again, you're talking about a toggle, and I don't disagree with that to some extent because I I agree with you. Like Cantanker says, it's not human nature, it's your nature. But I tend to agree, right? That for me, if you give me the option, are you peeing?
Shit, you can hear that? My bad.
It's
Fuck.
I don't mind hearing you pee so
Shit.
much as
Oh,
I'm like
no,
my.
how embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. It's impressive. That is the loudest fucking stream I've heard
Oh,
since
fuck.
like Revenge of the Nerds 2
Oh,
when Booger
man.
goes into the toilet and starts peeing and you're like,
Yeah,
my
I pissed
God.
real quick. I was getting it
That
out of my
was, you're
system.
not done, are you?
Yeah, I finished. It was a quick pee. I have a small bladder.
You sure as fuck do. I swear to God, that bladder's like as tiny as a fucking termite. Okay, anyway, point being though, is that you know, I'm distracted now.
Sorry.
But that's okay. Yeah, wash your hands, says Ralph. But what I would say though is that yes, it is human nature, or at least my nature, to also go, oh, I'll take the easy way out if I can.
Path
But
of least resistance.
But at the same time, though, I rarely do that. And more importantly, though, I think once AI does it, you're not going to know. It should never feel like Eddie T was saying, the minute he knows the game's adjusting to be easier, it pisses him off. It's not like that. It should never feel like that. You should just feel like you're having a great time. And if the artist is designing it to be a challenge, then you should feel challenged. But all I'm saying is my version of challenge is different than yours.
I understand that, but anybody who's in the know will know, oh man, yeah, it was tough, but with the AI, it adjusted it for me. And so like it never took me more than say 10 attempts to beat a boss. The joy out of those games, in particular this series, is that no matter how much I try, how much I struggle, there's an objective limit to where I have to be to this standard, or else I just can't beat it.
And well, here's what I would say though. I would say, I mean, again, it's not like we're talking about passing a law. If a developer wants to make a game with no dynamic difficulty and say, you know what, there's only going to be 5% of the people that can hang in there till the end because the difficulty is not dynamic. And depending on who you are of that 5%, it's going to be excruciatingly hard or just really hard. And the developer's okay with that. That's great. But I don't think that's where most people who make games, even Miyazaki, I've never spoken with him. Hopefully I'll get the opportunity to. I would be curious if you asked him, could you give everybody the same, this is really fucking hard, but if I just play smart, I can do it experience, or if you say no, only 5% are meant to see the end, I wonder what he would say. My guess is he would say the first one, not the second one.
Well, my question, so here's an example. My brother is a marathon runner. I am not a marathon runner.
No, because you got to stop and pee every 5 minutes.
True. I'll piss myself. It's cool.
Yeah.
But if, say, during marathons, most marathons had a short route where, say, you cut the marathon length by 10 miles.
Yep.
And anybody who wanted to could run the short path for a marathon, and then anybody could say that they completed a marathon. It would lose its merit. It's like, oh yeah,
but okay, but then in that, okay, first off, you're talking about two things. You're talking about multiplayer. You're talking about competitive gaming. Then I would agree with you. It doesn't make sense to say if you're playing MLG Call of Duty, and you're playing against somebody who's never played it, you should be having the same experience. They're different. I'm talking about single player, experiences.
Sure, but there's a gamer cred when it comes to beating a Souls
game,
but right?
again, what I'm saying is if that is you and your ilk have attributed or created the concept of the gamer cred for the Souls games. And if that is what Miyazaki wants, then I 100% support it because I believe in supporting the vision of the artist. And if he, like I said, if he wants to make a game that only 5% of people finish it and everybody in that 5% funnel are going to have vastly different experiences based on skill, but ultimately it's a 5%, glass ceiling or whatever, then I think that's great. Then if you want to ascribe gamer cred to it, then I think that's great. And if he believes that, then that's great. But I'm saying that most games, I don't think are going for that. But the ones that are, that's
games,
fantastic.
yeah, that's fine. I'm only speaking to the Souls.
But I don't think you can speak to Souls. I think you can speak to the Souls community But I
Right.
don't know from reading the reviews of Miyazaki who talks about, I wanted to make Elden Ring more accessible, or I had somebody change a tire for me when my car had a flat, and I want people to work together because I made it hard, not so it would be hard, but so people would have to work together. I don't know if he would necessarily agree with the gamer cred thing that you are, but maybe he would. I have no idea. I wish a journalist
And then
would ask him point
what-
blank.
One more point. So I just have a question. Should everything appeal to everyone?
It's up to the artist. It's up to the creator. I don't think it's possible for everything to appeal to everyone when you're talking right now. I think fundamentally, ultimately, everyone's getting personalized experiences through AI. But if we're talking about today, because you can't create that, then I think ultimately it's up to the creator. So there's always going to be an ABC sitcom with Tim Allen that isn't great for most people, but it's good enough that everybody can watch it and be okay with it. And then there's also going to be really challenging shit like The Wire that is not going to appeal to as many people, but it absolutely addresses what the creators wanted it to address. So I think what I stand by and defend is, as long as the artist is able to deliver their vision, and that vision may very well be top 40 pop because that's what they like and that's what they want to do, that's great.
So you don't think there's not a mystique, but an air of not superiority. That's not the word. But you don't think something should be in an exclusive club almost?
If that's
Where
what the
it's-
creator wants it to be, sure, why not?
Okay. But don't you
mean-
think if Miyazaki wanted that, he would have? There is options to make things easier, but only to a degree. So I feel like to argue that he should have went further.
I have never said
It's conjecture.
I never said he should have went further. I said I want him to, but what trumps my own personal desire is I want if his vision is exactly what it is. And again, Elden Ring is my favorite game of all time, and Bloodborne is in my top 10. Okay, but if his vision is exactly what he shipped, even if he could go back in time and magically flip an AI switch that's 100 years ahead of its time, then I support his vision. That trumps my own personal desire. But what I'm saying, though, is I don't like that vision. But that doesn't mean I don't support it.
Okay, last question. I'll let you go because I know you're about to wrap up the stream.
Yep.
So you say those games are some of your favorite,
Yes.
but isn't part of the allure of those games is that they're so daunting? And if anybody can beat it, I feel like that
Not
that
for
would take
me.
it down a peg.
Well, then it takes it down a peg for you. What I love about Elden Ring is is two things. The sense of immersion that comes from that game, because when I am stuck and I started to wander around to figure out what to do, there was so many things that caught my fancy and got me engaged that I felt like I was actually living in the world, just like in real life. You might go to medical school, but you suck at it and you wash out and you go on and do something else. It felt like the world was just existing and I was living in it because of that. And I also loved the way it expressed its lore and its fiction, which was, it didn't even not hit you over the head. It didn't even show up for the fight. It just was like, hey, you're in this world. It's been thought through. It's been designed. And what you get out of it, just like real life, is based on what you choose to put into it. That's what I loved about it. I can assure you, I've been on the planet for 53 years. Not once in my life have I gotten more money or more sex because I'm good at a video game. And that doesn't mean that because you ascribe to being good at a video game something you value, that it's not valuable. It just means, for me personally, it means nothing to me if I'm good or bad at a video game. I don't give a fuck. But I respect that you do.
So you would get just as much joy out of the Soul series if they were, let's say, 30% easier. You didn't get any joy out of the fact that you overcame the odds and difficulty.
That's not what I'm saying. For me, overcoming the difficulty is by going and exploring and working with the community is part of the fun. But what I'm of that game. But what I'm saying to you is my version of difficulty is different than yours. And so you don't get to know, and I don't get to know, if you're acting like your experience with the difficulty of Elden Ring is my experience. And I'm saying just because we fought the same monsters, your joy or frustration and ultimate triumph may have been more satisfying or less or whatever because your skills might be better than mine.
But isn't part of the beauty that we both know that we overcame the exact same challenge? Not that you overcame.
No, I don't give a shit about that.
Slightly less challenge. Okay.
No, I care
That's
about
fair.
being on an adventure. I want to go into the what are they called, the lands between or whatever. I want to go into that world and I want to feel like I'm living there and having a cool, dark, weird, twisted adventure, which is what it
So you
gives
never
me.
want to play a game where it's like, this is going to test me to my absolute limits. I'm going to have to.
No.
Okay. That's
I
fair.
raise children. I've had business. Trust me,
Yeah.
there's lots of things that test me to
Right.
my limits. I don't need.
But
a
you
fucking video
understand
game.
some people do.
Absolutely.
You don't just. Okay.
Yeah, and that's great. That's great.
Okay.
All right, man. Thank you for the call.
All right.
Thank you for
Yeah,
waiting. I
thanks,
appreciate
Jaffe.
it. All right. See
Yeah,
you.
you
dude.
take care. Bye bye.
You too. All right, fellas, that's Gabbing Games for the 12th of June. I appreciate you sticking in there and hanging in there and talking. It was a fun discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I sure did. Like I said, subscribe if you like the show. Consider a membership. We're here. We're on Patreon. We're on Twitch, Twitter, all those good places. But regardless, be well, be safe. Mods, thank you for being here tonight. And all the super chats and memberships, thank you for joining up and sharing your generosity. I appreciate it. I will chat with you guys. If you're a member, you'll get a podcast tomorrow. If you're not a member, I'll see you on Friday, 5 o'clock, 5:15, wherever. Be well. Bye, y'all.